All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Cheers to the End, the podcast where we watch the world go up in flames and cheers to our maybe survival. Each episode, we pick a movie that depicts the end of the world as we know it. This can mean a few different things: dystopian, Armageddon, catastrophe, doomsday, Ragnarok, or any other phrase or word that you can think of. We discuss what we liked about it, what we hated about it, and we drink the whole time. Whether it's zombies, aliens, asteroids, or pandemics, we are here to have a blast to the apocalypse. So grab a beer and join us as we cheers to the end. I am one of your hosts. I am joined here by two of my bestest buds in the entire world here. My name is Tim, and my other hosts are Dennis.
Yo.
And JJ.
Yellow.
What's going on, guys? How we feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I'm excited about this first movie.
Yeah.
This is right all up in the wheelhouse of kind of current events too, right? Because we got a little AI Armageddon working in
little
this
revolution
one, all that
going
good stuff.
on. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we got all the workings of the cyberpunk dystopian, which is kind of like my favorite dystopian. So yeah, so this should be fun. So I'm excited.
Oh, I didn't know there were levels of dystopian for you. So yeah, that makes sense. Cyberpunk dystopian is definitely a class. Like,
oh yeah.
What other dystopians are there though? Kind of help me out with that.
There's the drink your own piss dystopian, man. There's dystopian on a boat. There's dystopian where everything's like monkeys. They're all their own genre.
Mad Max, right? That's what I'm thinking about. Like, okay, all right, cool. I never thought about it that way. Great.
JJ, can you get a little closer to your mic, please?
Oh yeah, I'll swallow it.
JJ, how are you feeling about today, man?
Good. I just actually watched the movie just this morning or this afternoon, and yeah, man, I'm right there. I feel exactly the way that Dennis just talked about it, which was this movie has more to do with today than it did when it first came out.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, as you guys could probably read from the selection, the movie is The Matrix, the very first Matrix, and actually, it is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year, and that hurts to say out loud. 1999 is when this movie came out, which is fucking crazy. Yeah, when you really break it down.
Technically, this movie can have lower car insurance, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. At this point, yes, it can. So what we do here is each week we pick a movie and we pick a specific host. Dennis will be hosting this episode. He is our illustrious host for this. And the podcast is called Cheers to the End, so we are drinking the entire time. So we are going to go into a little bit of beer spiel here. I will go first. My beer is a little apropos, if I like to say so myself. It is called Wake the Dead. I thought that was pretty fitting. It is a Russian Imperial Stout. It is 10.2% with 45 IBUs. It is by a brewery called Left Hand Brewing. They were born in September 1993 out of Longmont, Colorado, where they still are to this day. One fun fact about them is at the 2011 Great American Beer Festival, Left Hand introduced a milk stout nitro in a bottle. Left Hand is both the first American and first craft brewer to master the science of bottling nitrogen beer without a widget in it. So I'm super excited about that. This is not a nitro beer, though they do make this one in nitro. I just could not find it. Dennis, what are you drinking today, man?
So I tried to go a little inside baseball with this one. So the Wachowski brothers, or the Wachowski sisters now.
Yeah, just the Wachowskis. That's fine.
The Wachowskis, we'll say that. They directed The Matrix, wrote and directed The Matrix. They are from Chicago, Illinois. So I was trying to find a beer from Chicago. So I went out, grabbed a beer from a brewery called Off Color Brewing out of Chicago, Illinois. It's actually really fun, interesting story. They call their brewery the Mousetrap, and they have like they say a mouse is their mascot. On here, I'll show you the can. There you go, little mouse there. This particular beer that I have is called Beer for Hoops. It's got a little mouse dunking on the can. This is a cream ale with peach puree and vanilla beans in it. So it's 5% ABV. Sounds like gonna be pretty tasty, so I'm excited about it. So this one's a cheers to the Wachowskis from out of Chicago.
JJ, what you drinking today, man?
Well, I wish I thought more about my beer, but it's just a Shiner Bock. So that's like my go-to beer when I don't have a stout floating around. But I did find some stuff out that it was brewed in 1913 in Shiner, Texas. So that's where it gets its name. It's 4.4% ABV. It's got a 13 IBU on bitterness. Now, I'm a beer noob a little. So can you explain to me what the IBU system is like there,
Sure.
Tim?
Yeah. It is called the International Bitterness Unit. So essentially, the higher that it goes, the more bitter that it is. Think of it in terms of like an IPA or a pale ale is between like 60 and 100 IBUs. Like, so the lower that it is, the less bitter it's going to be. Now, something like a Stone, like Stone, their IBUs are crazy. They make a beer called Ruination. I don't know. I don't think you've ever had it before, JJ, but Ruination has like 112 or 120 IBUs. It's literally called Ruination because it's so bitter it blows out your palate and you can't taste anything else after that. Like it's crazy. So the lower the IBUs are, the less bitter it is. Like the less like harsh it is on your palate.
Yeah, this Shiner Bock is an easy drink, so I can imagine that 13 is right up
For
some
sure.
people's alleys. It used to be a seasonal drink until 1973.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yeah, that was interesting. The malt is a roasted barley malt. Hops is a German specialty, and the yeast is a lager.
Yeah. Lager yeast.
But yeah, no, I do like this beer. This is my Plan B beer, and it's always consistent for me. So I'll say that.
All right, well, crack them open, boys.
All right. Been waiting for this.
Oh yeah, still good.
Oh, this smells delightful. Yeah, I'm getting a lot of good stuff on the nose on this one already. Some apricot and some vanilla.
I don't know how I feel about this. It's got some licorice on the nose there a little bit. A little chocolate, little bit of licorice though, so we'll see. I don't know. Let me give this a little tasty poo.
Yeah, Tim, you definitely got something that's more up my alley.
Yeah. It's a little bit more bitter than I was expecting, to be honest, with only 45 IBUs. But I think that's the coffee coming through because it's very, very coffee heavy on the back end. That chocolate is more on the nose. I can't really taste it much. A lot of dried fruit and licorice and coffee in there. Actually, let me read the description here. It says, here's a black stout to brighten your day. It's deadly delicious with dark chocolate cake aromas with a hint of dried fruit, licorice, and coffee. Hey, look at that. It's a beast of a beer you'll crave from beyond the grave. Yeah, it's solid, like super solid beer. Well, how you feel about yours, Dennis?
This is delicious, man. And this actually kind of blew me away a little bit because I wasn't expecting a lot of this based on what was in it, but it blends really well. It's like very balanced because that's really my thing. I don't like anytime anything overpowers anything, whether it's food or beer or anything. I like a nice balanced meal. I like a nice balanced beer. Everything goes together very well. You could taste the peach, you could taste the apricot, you could taste vanilla in this. It's all mellow. It's all like blended really well. It's very good beer. Like I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna try to find some more if I can.
JJ, how's your Plan B beer?
Still good. Very light. You can get by with it. Yeah, it's just a very little bit. Hearing you talk about your beer, Tim, made me like, please tell me more. It almost sounded like a meal. Like this is a very light drink. You got a meal.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a meal, and especially at 10.2%. So the way we rate these is the inevitable fate of going down into a bunker once the apocalypse hits. Would you bring this beer into the bunker? I would definitely bring this beer. I would bunker this beer 100%. It is delicious and filling. As JJ would say, it is a meal. You're practically chewing on it. It's like motor oil. But yeah, it's really good, man. I'm very, very surprised. Left Hand actually has my favorite Oktoberfest in the world, believe it or not. So I was super excited to try something different from them. Dennis, how you feeling about yours? Is it a bunker-worthy beer?
Well, I'm definitely taking this one. Yeah, this is definitely going down. Now, you know me pretty well. You know I would probably try to say that about most beers. But I'm gonna try to be. I don't know. I'm gonna try to be picky on this podcast about that, and only take the ones that I really think are worthy of going down, because it will literally be it'll literally be some of the last beers that we ever drink. So, but right off the bat, this one could go. I will say that this one is definitely worthy. It's very, very delicious.
How you feeling about Tried But True over there, JJ?
Oh yeah, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
So,
Straight
I
down
would
into the bunker.
absolutely take it with me. And so usually you know that I'm a bit about more heavier beers. So this is actually like a really safe, balanced version of a beer for me. So
Okay.
when I go lighter, I go Shiner for sure.
Wow, 3 bunker beers. How about that? All right, cool. Well, we're gonna pivot right into this movie. I remember seeing this movie in the theater. That's how old we are at this point. 1999. This shit was so fucking hype. Like, I remember seeing previews for it, and like, what is the Matrix? What is the Matrix? Like, hearing that all over the fucking place, and like, the hype behind this movie was unreal back then. And like, yeah, it held up. Like, it really held up. Like, I'm really impressed with the visuals, and storytelling is like, it's okay, but yeah, it's like, plot is like, 1,000-foot view now. You know what I mean? Looking back, 25 years now, it's like, it's a little, it is what it is, I guess. But I'm super excited for this. Dennis, you just hop into it and take it away, man.
All right, let's hit it. So one thing I will say right off the bat, I have a kind of a different viewpoint about the plot. I actually used to feel like you just described about it back in the day watching this, but I don't know, like, this is aged really well. Like, the more time goes on, I actually appreciate how simple the plot is with this. Like, I appreciate, like, they hit all the tropes, they do all the things, but it's a complicated story in a simple plot, which works really well for this. Which the opposite happens in the sequels, by the way.
Oh god, we're not talking about those
This
yet.
changed my opinion on the sequels, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
we'll get into that, I'm sure.
we'll say a little bit about that at the end. But yeah, we'll hop right into the movie. So the movie essentially opens introducing you to Trinity. So Trinity is in a building of some sort, rundown building. It's dark. She looks like she's being chased, and she's trying to get to a phone to get out. Now, at this point, we're not sure where she's trying to get out from, right? We just know she's being chased. She's trying to find what they described at the beginning as a hard line, right? And then these finely dressed gentlemen with sunglasses on, they appear below in the street level. There's some cops around. They're trying to essentially, come and support the police that are there. And they basically tell these cops that, your men are already dead.
No, Lieutenant, your men are already dead.
Yeah, if they're up there trying to capture her. And then we get essentially our first action scene right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right. So Trinity starts getting down in the building, fighting these cops, and what we later find out are agents, which they go into later on, which we'll get into probably a scene or two from now. They get up to her level, and then she basically starts running from them immediately when they approach her up there. So they give chase. The cops essentially watch the agents chase Trinity over the rooftop. Trinity hops over the rooftop to the other building across the street. Agent hops the rooftop over across the street. Cops just looking like, that's impossible. Like, what the hell's going on? And we're in the audience like, what the hell's going on? But that was cool. Right. And this is our first foray into the bullet time that we see a lot through this movie, right? Now, this was kind of like a shorter fight from that point of view, right? So we saw Trinity. They circle around her with the cameras a couple times. We get to see her do a couple like jump kicks and stuff, and pretty much she runs off after that. But
the run
that
up
alone,
the run up the wall,
the run up the wall, yeah, when they were shooting her. And the cool thing about this is like, if you know a lot of the behind the scenes, a lot of this movie is practical. They used way less CG in this movie than you would think. They did a lot of wire. They did a lot of they did green screen in this, but it was still the actors being suspended with the green screen behind them. So they actually put a lot into it. A lot of the actors got injured in this too, like, which we'll talk about later too. But,
yes, they did.
But yeah, it was awesome. So then you're already locked in at that point as far as the action goes. Like I like I said, we were probably about 15, 16 years old when we saw this for the first time. Look, we were at the perfect age for this.
Yeah.
Because you're old enough where you understand what's going on, but you're not too old where you're just going to be like whatever about it. You're still going to be like, wow, this is cool. There was like 15 times in this movie, at least, where we were just like, we've never seen anything like this before. And it was just back to back to back, one thing after another. So essentially, Trinity gets out, and then we have a discussion back down on the ground level with the agents basically discussing that they have an informant and that they're looking for Neo. Okay? So obviously at this point, we're not aware who Neo is yet, but it goes right into that in the next scene.
Now,
And
this is what I liked about this scene that was really interesting. They already set up a tier system. So we have cops, regular cops, whoever's a part of Trinity's group can handle. And then we have those people running from agents.
Yeah.
So we already know that there's a hierarchy there. But there's a few things that I didn't catch the first time that I caught this time. And it was when the conversation between Trinity and Cypher. Cypher mentions, we're going to kill him. Do you understand that? He's going to die just like the others. Which means that, was there like somebody's name was Eon, E-O-N, and they were like, could he be the one? No, just kill him. like, we never really got into that. That's like, who have they been killing?
I think 1,000-foot view here, obviously, but like I think what he's talking about is other people that have got out, because he never believed that he was the one. You know what I mean? Like we'll get into that later, obviously. But Cypher never ever believed that Neo was the one. You know, so
Right.
That's what he was trying to convince Trinity of. Is just like, he's just a regular dude. When he gets out, he's gonna die like all the other ones. You know what I mean? So that's in my mind. That's the way
that
it
makes
worked for
more
me.
sense to me. Okay. I did. I was like, wow. Wait a minute.
Not
So,
there
I don't know, I
was
thought some other
100
story.
of the ones, and then they all
Yeah.
died. Yeah,
They're like, well, we keep killing our ones, so that's why.
he's the 100th. Yes.
well,
Got it.
that's how I took it too, from what Cypher is saying. We do find out later. Again, we won't talk about the sequels too much, but we do find out later that this is a revolving situation.
Yeah, but
Correct.
Cypher didn't know that.
Yeah, but he didn't know that. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get to the next scene, and we're in an apartment that we quickly find out is occupied by Thomas Anderson. All right, which eventually we find out is Neo, but at this point, just a dude. All right, he wakes up at his computer, and there's a message on the computer screen essentially telling him to follow the White Rabbit. Right, which there is allegory all over this movie. There's religious allegory all over this movie. Yes, many references, and a ton of references to Alice in Wonderland. So this is just another example of Alice in Wonderland reference, basically going down the rabbit hole, escaping reality, finding out what's on the other side, being reawakened, or reawakening. That's a big theme in this movie, right? So he sees the message, and then he has a knock at his door. His friend Choi stops by. Essentially, he's there to pick up a disc that Neo has for him that he's paying $2,000 for, which I was like, what's on this disc? They never really explained in the movie. Now, I think they said there was a cut scene that explained what was on the disc, but they thought it was lame, so they cut it out. Because essentially, Thomas Anderson is a hacker in this world, right? In his free time. Now, so he has a regular 9-to-5 job, and when he's not doing that, he's a hacker. He goes and he does
named Neo.
A hacker named Neo. He does nefarious stuff, and apparently he's got a little side hustle sliding discs to buddies of his for $2,000. Not a bad side hustle, by the way. If you got a hustle in the Matrix, it's not bad. So
especially 1999 $2,000.
Like, yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, damn, what's on this disc?
That's like $5,000-6,000 now, dude. That's crazy.
Of course, Choi said my own personal Jesus Christ, and it's like, oh, great. You know, that third movie really showed us that. And then also he also mentioned that he doesn't exist. So that pushes more further into like the difference between Neo and Thomas Anderson, basically. But anyways,
so they invite him out to party with them. He's like reluctantly, he's like, no, I can't go. And then the girl that's with Choi turns her shoulder towards the camera to reveal that she has a white rabbit tattoo that they zoom in on. And of course, as soon as he sees that, he's like, well, of course I have to go now.
Sure, I'll go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So no, there's a ton of that. You know, we're gonna take a little pause in the middle of this, and we're gonna have a Keanu discussion for a minute when we get a couple scenes from this.
All right.
Because one thing you have to say about that dude is he is perfect for this. And
Yeah.
like even his like the all shucksness about him and the flat delivery and all that stuff, it works perfectly for what they're asking him to do in this movie. But anyway, this movie moves pretty quick in the beginning, which is one of the things that I was like, I didn't really remember it moving this fast. Like I was kind of like, oh, they're just banging through these scenes. Like he sees the White Rabbit, next thing you know, he's standing in the club. He's in the club. They got the 90s industrial going. People got leather on and chains and whatnot. And I think Rob Zombie's performing or something. So, and Trinity's back in this scene, approaches him and basically lets him know that he's being watched, right? She's like, they're watching you, And
it's a good scene too, because we're setting up something already. Like there's definitely like momentum building pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a nice little exposition, but it's a sexy exposition, right? Because Trinity's kind of in her bag in this scene. Like and they, Carrie Ann Moss has talked about this in interviews a ton. Like this is one of her favorite scenes that she did in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she got to really kind of open up a little bit, and so I was like, oh, this is cool. So she's basically kind of let him know that they're in control, and it's a trust situation. Like, hey, trust us. We know what's going on. We got you, and we'll explain that. There's a lot of this. We'll tell you what you need to know when you need to know it, but just keep moving forward type of stuff. And of course, he's going to be reluctant because he's going to ask questions. What is the Matrix and what's going on and all this. So, and she's like, we can't tell you now. You're going to have to just trust us on that. But just kind of like stay low and be ready, and we'll contact you when we need to, and we'll let you know.
Dennis, I think it's funny that you bring up the nightclub and how like incredibly 90s it is. That was a real nightclub. Like they shot that in a real night. It was called the Hellfire Club. It's down in like Sydney, Australia, and the people that are in the club are actually like they were actual club goers, and like the Wachowskis were like, yeah, just show up in like your club clothes. So like they were just real people, like just showing up to the club, and like so they literally shot that with like real club going extras in the background and shit like that. It wasn't like a made up fucking play. That shit was real. Like Rob Zombie playing, like all that shit was real, dude.
That's how they were getting down in Australia back then, just leathered out.
Apparently, yeah.
All right.
Not only that, but Thomas Anderson's still basically an outcast. Like he's not partying, and like he's disconnected already. So in that way,
yeah, he was just standing off to the side. Well, I think in that notion, he was just waiting for Trinity to show up at that point, right? He the only reason he went out was
because of the
see
White
her,
Rabbit.
right? To follow the White Rabbit.
I have a feeling he's always like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's just always that outcast. That can't really have fun because he knows something's off. That's it. Like that plays with this character.
No, that makes total sense. So yeah, this is definitely not a usual outing for him. And he's probably looking around like, I don't have any leather on, and I don't really like Rob Zombie.
I wonder if that plays into it a little bit, because he literally just had like regular ass like clothes on. Like I wonder if that's like part of it. Like him being inside of the Matrix still was like, just trying to fit in and be normal. Like I wonder if that's part of it.
Oh, I'm sure it was. All right, so next scene, we're in Thomas Anderson's workplace. We're in the office, and he receives a FedEx package. Which he quickly opens. It has a phone inside.
By the way, I want to point out, as a person who works in an office, he was doing nothing. His computer was not. He was just staring at a blank screen. It wasn't even on. He was just sitting there waiting for the package to show up.
Yeah, he was just kind of. And as we come to find out, it was late to work. So on top of that, all the makings of I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is that thing. But essentially, Morpheus gets right into warning Neo that he's being followed, that there are agents there looking for him. He basically lets Neo know, hey, look above the cubicles. They're right there. They're in the building. They're coming for you. So he tries to lead him out of the building. Now, at this point, as a viewer, you're like, well, how does he know where to lead him? How does he know what's going on in the building and stuff? So none of that's been revealed yet. So it's a cool scene from that point of view too, because you're getting introduced to this character, but at the same time, you're peeling the onion on this. this basically like outlook of like who's behind the curtain here and what's the curtain, what is
Yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
but it's still moving. It's still moving at a pretty quick pace. Like nobody's slowing down here for a lot of exposition. There's not a lot of explanation yet, but you're getting it while it's happening, which is really good storytelling. Like I was actually like, this is cool. This is good how they're doing this.
Also, Morpheus delivering that fucking, he's like, Morpheus? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeses. Morpheus
I love
has
it. I love
at least 3 different yeses that he throws out. And yes. Yeah. This is
I fucking love that. Yes, dude. It's just like, it's like, yes. Yeah, it's me, motherfucker. Yeah.
Yeah. You heard about me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I'm the motherfucking Morpheus. That's me. Yeah, hold on. But we'll talk about that later. Just get your ass out of the building.
Yeah.
Please.
He just established himself as a cool motherfucker over the phone. That's really what it was.
Pretty much.
He was on some Billy D shit at that point.
That's a huge
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's just a huge deal in this too. For him to be able to, because there's a lot of off-screen voiceover stuff in this movie. There's a lot of phones and a lot of shit like that. So, yeah, you needed him, the character that he's playing, you needed him to sound cool.
Yeah.
Before you even saw him, he had to sound cool.
Yeah.
He could not sound cool. Even if he looked badass, it just wouldn't work if he didn't sound cool but looked badass.
Like, why would you follow him if he didn't sound fucking cool, right? Like, why would you try and go out that window and all that shit? Yeah.
So he speaking of which, he tries to lead him out, and Thomas Anderson, we'll still call him Thomas Anderson at this point, kind of punks out and gets outside the building and can't do it.
Which I think is one of the most pivotal moments to let us know that this hero is not perfect. He sounds like he's got to fail a little bit. And now we know that just because he has an amazing path that seems to be setting up, he doesn't need to follow it. Like, we literally just saw him get off track. And then it's like, oh, that's so cool because it humanizes him. He isn't that Jesus Christ image of being perfect just yet. So I think that's very important because the story consistently goes back to that he's very human and he's just trying to figure things out. And, just that, I don't know. I think it's important to me these days that somebody like that is now present. And
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And, Dennis, you say punked out, but like, if you had to climb outside of a fucking building on the 60th floor and shit, like, you punk out too, motherfucker.
I don't know, man. If the dudes looking like the dudes that walked in were coming after me, I might just have to climb down the side of the building.
Oh yeah. Then when they first came in and they looked at his cubicle, that was like one of the most terrifying things you can see. Where they're just like, oh yeah, he's over there. And
oh yeah, Chick just sold him out. By the way, Chick just pointed right on over. Whoever that chick was, terrible.
Yeah,
terrible. I was like,
right under.
She didn't do like the kid in T2, man. That, where she tried to like point in another direction. Like, oh, I think I saw that kid. He went the other way.
Yeah.
Nope. She was like, he's right over there.
No, that motherfucker right
there.
Terrible.
Yep. Hey, everybody's got somebody at their office just like that too. That would have done the same shit. That would have pointed right at your cubicle, sold you out.
Thomas Anderson ate her fucking sandwich or some shit, and she's like, "Yeah, that motherfucker's right there." Yeah.
Yep. Oh yeah, he's right over there.
Oh, Thomas Anderson. Oh yeah, he over here. Yeah.
Yep. But he gets picked up by the agents, and essentially, once again, right into the next scene. They don't mess around in this movie. They're right in the interrogation room.
I love that transition too, from the transition to the cinematography in this is fucking outstanding. Like, you can talk about the bullet time all you want to, but to the color schemes and all that stuff. But like when it transitions from like seeing him on the monitor and then like going from the monitor into the interrogation room, what a fucking great shot, dude. It's just like, oh man, watching that back, I was like, dude, that was awesome. And it's just like a throwaway nothing shot. And it's just like they didn't need to do that. It could have just been in the interrogation room, you know what I mean? But I think it kind of goes into play. It's just like, hey, like, you're being watched all the time, like on this monitor all the time. You're being monitored, and it's just like, but it's also real life. Look at that at the same time. It established what it was without us even knowing what the fuck was going on.
And again, the storytelling very, very good in this scene. within the interrogation, they're telling us a lot of information that we need to know while asking Neo what they need to know. Very good storytelling. So they essentially say, hey, we know you're hacker alias Neo, and Morpheus is considered the most dangerous man alive. He's a terrorist. We need to know any information that you can give us on him. We know he's contacted you, and of course, Neo at this point, hey, I don't know anything about this. I can't help you out here, basically. So then the body manipulation starts, and then you start to see the crack showing for him because Agent Smith closes his mouth literally, and then they end up putting an implant in him so they can track him after they let him go. Since he's not going to give up any information, they're going to see if he leads them to Morpheus at that.
By the way, in that interrogation scene, when he's like, how about I give you the finger? The little grunt that Agent Smith does, he's just like it's just like, it's like the most subtle little, like, this motherfucker, just, yeah, I loved it.
So then we're
also, this is like the second time they do it, but they did it in the scene with Trinity after her conversation at the nightclub. And then this scene, it's constantly referencing the fact that he keeps waking up.
Yes.
So we're always having to wonder, why is it we're always thinking this is all a dream? And I think that's, like you said, great storytelling. It's getting us in that mode where we're constantly questioning what it is that's actually happening, which is the whole thing of the Matrix, right?
Yes.
So
exactly.
anyways, I always thought that those cuts were great.
So speaking of great cuts, we're back at his apartment again after this, and he's waking up from what looks like a nightmare, right? So he pops out of bed, he's looking around, he's sweaty.
That's real.
And he gets another phone call from Mr. Morpheus on his hard line, mind you. So which is a nice touch. So they called him on his house phone, which is serious. Anybody that's ever got a call on their house phone, for the older people like us that had house phones, like if you received a call on the house phone late at night, it's normally, not for anything like small. It's usually a serious phone call, right? So he essentially tells Neo to go to the Adam Street Bridge and wait to be picked up, right? So just like he did in the White Rabbit situation, he makes his way down to the bridge, and the setting's starting to change, right? It's rainy, dark, right? Not a lot of visibility. It's a little ominous. Car pulls up.
Understatement, dude. It was like a
it was
hurricane.
pouring, and we see Trinity again in the back seat. This car that pulls up to pick Neo up. So they get him in the car, and they essentially don't treat him as a friendly when he gets in the car right away, because they don't know it. They don't know yet. They're not sure. So APOC and Switch are in the car. Switch has a gun on him. Most of the time he's in the car until they can make sure that that he's good, and that they can trust that he's A, not being followed, and B, that he's not going to be turned by one of the agents, right?
But we don't know that yet. Right?
But we don't know that yet. So Trinity pulls out this this very absurd looking device to remove the bug that was implanted in Neo, and once Neo sees it, he's like, "Oh, that was real." He's kind of
it's real.
Yeah. So he starts to realize that this shit is happening. This is some real shit. So, and then right from there, it starts going. This is when all those little pieces start to come together, because they're taking Neo to meet Morpheus after this. That's the next step, right?
I love this is one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, was the part where he almost got out of the car, and she mentioned, "You've been down there, Neo. You know exactly
you've been down that
where
road before." Yeah, and
I'm like, and that was what's so cool about that, is he already got off this road that they put him in. So it's like he's been down there already, and it's just his lame old shit. But I do like it, just because in general what it's saying for people when they're thinking about getting off an amazing adventure or something that's super risky. Everyone knows what that other path is, and the movie let us know that he can absolutely get off track. So it's cool. I don't know. I liked it. It's good.
This next scene is my favorite scene in the entire movie. When Neo meets Morpheus in person for the first time. Outstanding scene. And the exposition, I can't say this enough. We're gonna probably say this 10 more times in this overview. The exposition, the way they do the exposition in this movie is incredible. It's similar to how the Kyle Reese did the exposition in the first Terminator, like where you're going, stuff's happening, but you're talking, you're getting information out, but it's relevant to the character that they're talking to, and it's
Right.
relevant to the audience at the same time, which is always good. Because when it's bad is when you're either just talking to the character and we don't know, or they're just talking to the audience and it's not relevant to the character. But they found a way in this movie to do both at the same time. That's exactly what they do in this scene, and it's perfect because we're basically having the same experience that Neo's having at the same time.
Right.
Like
Right.
Yes.
when Morpheus is breaking this down, he's telling them what the Matrix is essentially in general
Kind
terms to
of.
start. He gives them the more in depth when they get further along. But at this point, he's like, hey, you're a slave. This is a prison for your mind. This is a construct. Like I can free you from this. I can't tell you too much about it now, but if this sounds like something that you want to escape from, you seem like you already are skeptical about it, and you've been looking. We could take this a step further if you want, but this is what you have to do that. So then this is
Show
when he
you how
presents
deep
them
the rabbit hole goes.
right, and this is when he presents them.
with the sunglasses,
Yes,
by
the
the way,
glasses.
and the boat. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I love
they
it.
had
too.
it all cooking.
I love it too when he's like offering him the pills, and he says, "Remember, all I'm offering you is the truth, nothing more." And it's like, okay, but like, how badly do you want to know that truth? It's just like, do you want to know it so badly that you're willing to take this random drugs from this random stranger that you just fucking met? Like, it's just, So, anyway,
I
The
mean,
red
I
pill
don't
was
know,
just
man.
psychedelics, man. That's all it is. It's just one big psychedelic dream.
yeah,
That's all
he's
that
just been
pill
dreaming
was.
the whole time. Yeah. He's gonna wake up in his bed again and be like, "Jesus Christ, that wasn't real." Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He's gonna take that shit, and then the agent's gonna kick the door down and drag his ass out. But
Yeah.
and Morpheus is like, I don't know who this is. I've never seen this man in my life.
I've never seen this man in my life. Yes.
Yeah.
But this is interesting, right? Because all right, 15, 16-year-old us, red pill all day, right? We're all like, oh, of course
Yeah.
you take the red pill, right?
Yeah,
You're gonna see where it
absolutely,
goes, right? Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, we'll talk about this a little later on, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, might be taking the blue pill.
I'm kind of with Cypher on
I'm
this
like-
motherfucker.
Sympathetic to Cypher.
Yeah,
is
I'm
what
like-
gonna
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Justice for
we'll-
Cypher. Yeah.
We'll see where we're at once we get further along in this. But I was fired up. Like you could not have gotten 16-year-old me ever to be like, "Oh, I would take the boob." No, of course, no. I want revolution, and I want to break the matrix. I want freedom and all this, and yeah. And then when you really see what that is, you're kind of like, I don't know, man. I understand. This is one of the times I understand the Judas in this movie. I definitely
Right.
understand. But anyway, he takes the red pill, okay? And we find out that the red pill is a trace program to find Neo outside of the Matrix, essentially, right? To find his real human form, right? And this is very terrifying because, as usual, this movie cuts right to it.
Yeah.
Right to it. Like, there's no messing around here. As soon as he takes this, we see the human form of Neo in a pod, awakening in some red goop, basically lifting his bald, disheveled body out of it,
Yeah.
pulling tubes out of his mouth, right? And looking around and seeing stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of these pods and tubes, where you could imagine are just full of human beings, right? And it's
So
dark and it's desolate.
My son was watching this scene with me, and the only response that I had to him when he saw that part again was like, "Hey, my son, hey, do you remember seeing people when you're walking around and everyone's on their phone?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's essentially what's happening today. It's the same idea." And he's like, "Oh, so you're saying that everyone who's digitally on their phone is like plugged into the Matrix?" He was like, "Yeah, that's a part of it." So, anyways, I just wanted to throw that out there because it was a scene that still raises like the hair on my arm because
Yeah.
I'm like, that's more true. right now that of all this connection to just digital AI and everything that's happening. So it's just
It's
crazy.
terrifying. It's
Random
still terrifying.
fun fact about that: Keanu went a little method with this. To be honest, he lost like 15 pounds, and he completely shaved every fucking hair on his body. His eyebrows, like his fucking pubic hair, like everything was completely shaved. Just for that fucking scene alone, like he went totally method for it, and I respect it because, like, when I was looking back at it, I thought they just like put patches over his eyebrows or whatever. Like, no, he went he fucking waxed his shit like all the way, dude. Like 100%, Brazilian wax all over his fucking body. Yeah,
But do it once, man.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Hey man, you gotta be committed.
Yeah.
So, Neo is disconnected from his pod and shot down a tube where he could be retrieved by a ship that we later find out is the ship that houses the crew that includes all the characters that we've met thus far, but then we meet the rest of the crew when Neo is retrieved on the ship. So once they retrieve Neo, they get him on the ship. Of course, since he's been in this pod his entire life, they have to rebuild his muscles because they have atrophied. And essentially they have to teach him how to walk. See, this is the only part of the movie where I kind of had some like questions because I'm like, this guy's he's never been out of this pod. How does he know how to talk and walk and all that stuff? How much time
his brain
passed?
is still. They always say that your brain is still intact. Like he knows like language and shit. One of the things I did like about it was when he said, "Why do my eyes hurt?" And he said, "Because you never used them before." And it's just like, oh, like what the fuck do you mean? It's just like, okay. Like even at this point, like with him being flushed down the tube and all that shit, like we're still asking, like, what the fuck is going on? Like we don't still 100% like know what the fuck is happening.
Yeah, it's still pretty jarring, but it's starting to come together a little bit now. I think once you saw that scene with the towers and the pods, you're kind of like, oh shit, okay. I'm kind of starting to put this together a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit,
but this is also 1999, where like nothing that we had seen I'm not going to say it wasn't completely done before, but like nothing that we had seen up to this point. Like we didn't understand what the fuck was going on.
No,
I would
not
say,
completely.
Right. I would say there's I would say there's actually three, but these are two major beginnings to this movie. And the first beginning was in the Matrix. The second beginning was as soon as he got out. Because we have to be explained everything all over again. And just that magic of this movie is the reason I think the sequels could never work in a way this one does. Because once you explain what the Matrix is, that's the magic of this movie, is what is the Matrix. Once you lose that magic, you can't ever really recreate that.
Yes and no. I think that was a big part of it. I think that was what drew us into the theater, so to find out what the Matrix is. I don't think that was everything, right? Like finding out who they are and the story, right, and the story of the one. They could have fleshed that out in a better way. And I have fond memories of the sequels. Well, I should say the sequel.
Yeah.
I don't fully hate the second one. The third one could just eat my entire ass. I don't like that one fucking blows. And then we don't even talk about Resurrections. That shit was fucking awful. But I think there's a way to do the story and flesh out the one to where you don't make it like a Jesus, presence, and like it was essentially just telling the same story from the Bible at that point. It's just like with machines, and just like, I don't know. There was a better way to do it, in my opinion. Not that I'm just fucking some Joe Schmo on a podcast. I get it, but anyway.
Well, no, that's they were pretty upfront about it, even in this movie right away, that's where they were going for. Because when you go back and watch this movie again, and once you get to like the fifth or sixth viewing, if you're really paying attention, there's Easter eggs all over this movie.
Yes.
There's Christian symbols all over the movie. There's religious allegory all over the movie. Even in the dialogue, man, they're like telling you over and over and over again what this is and what this is going to be. The only difference is in the sequels, they just hit you with a sledgehammer with it. At least they were subtle in this one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
but
right.
they could have
Like,
they could have kept that subtlety and still made it fun and cool, you know, like instead of
they
just
doubled down.
Oh yeah, hardcore. Yeah.
We got a ragtag team of hackers, man. They're all hackers, ready to break the system. All right.
So
everyone's got a job except for Mouse.
Yeah, I was
Don't
gonna
get
say
me started on that motherfucker.
we get on the ship. We meet the crew. All right, and we're not really sure where we're at in time in this because Morpheus essentially says he thinks it's the year 2199, but they're not sure. They kind of lost track at certain points.
Yeah, that's after, like, that's when they hook him back up and they go into the construct or whatever.
It's such a cool line because it was like, wait a minute, are we like, it kind of gave us a moment where we like, is this like a future event? Is this time traveling involved or something like time wise? And Morpheus kind of does it in a way where it's still mysterious. But yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that line is super cool. It really gives a lot of thought process.
Yeah, he says, what do you say? Like, it's like in your mind is 1999, but really it's closer to 2199.
And we don't really know for sure. So it's like, it's important, but it's not. It's not.
So we meet the crew. We've already met APOC, Switch. We've already met Trinity. We've already met Morpheus. We meet Tank at this point, who's the operator. We meet Dozer. And what would you say Dozer does on this ship? Dozer's just kind of a everyman on the ship, right? You would say, like, he kind of...
I'd say he's a mechanic.
Engineer. Like,
he kind of...
Engineer, mechanic. Yeah, I'd put him in that category.
Yeah.
So like an everyman.
Yeah.
He handles a lot of different roles, right?
Sure.
And then
they all kind of handle different roles.
Like I could never see him going into the Matrix, right? Like they don't have the USB ports.
Yeah, he can't.
Right.
Yeah, he can't
go. Yeah,
they're but neither
they were born in Zion.
Born in Zion.
As Tank tells us later on. What did he say? He's like what did he say? Pure, full-grown human, or something like that. Like,
yeah. What was the line? It was something about being, just Zion, homegrown and raised.
Homegrown.
Yeah. And then, and Mouse. We can't forget about Mouse, as we just mentioned. We get introduced to him too.
He did create the woman in the red dress, so
he did. As he was so excitedly
he was supposed
told
to have
us
a personality, which is why he needed to die immediately.
Yeah. He was a red shirt. He was the red shirt on the ship. And you could tell right away. As soon as he started talking, oh, he's gonna die.
Yeah, he's dead. He's so dead. Yeah.
Do I hate it when they're when they're eating the slop or whatever? He's like, I pretend it's this and this, and you know, when he's just like, how do the machines know what this tastes like? You know, he delivers that. He's like, or tuna fish. I fucking hate it so much, dude. I hate it so much.
Believe me, the writers knew.
Okay, so next thing we get is more outstanding exposition, as we're gonna say, like I said 10 more times during this. So Morpheus essentially is going to take Neo into the Matrix root program, which they call the Construct, which essentially serves two purposes, right? It's a training program, right? But for the audience that has never seen the Matrix in a form that could be explained to us, other than what we've seen early in the movie, but we didn't know yet. So now we're getting to see it with the curtain pulled back, right? And essentially what Morpheus explains to Neo is that the image of yourself that you see is a residual self-image. It's a mental projection of your digital self, right? That's what you get when you're in the Matrix, right? And he's like, we're going to show you what it looks like when we're in control, right? When we kind of come into it a certain way, we can manipulate the program too on our end. We could use it to train, and then when we go into the Matrix, it gives us an upper hand, except when we run into agents, right? They always make sure they put that disclaimer on it. We got the upper hand and less than agents around, then you run away. Right. But essentially what Morpheus
is literally
explains,
their only opposition. I don't it's like
that's it.
Anyway, yeah.
But
other than that, they're all like flex in and like we're badasses, we can do whatever we want, and less than agents around. Then
that's also an introduction to some plot holes. Because they do talk about how the humans are batteries, basically, right?
Yes.
And it's like, are you sure all that work for a human heat BTU property is really gonna work out? And I think some people actually looked into it, and for the most part, the only thing we can possibly think of that would create some energy is like basically them being hooked up to the Matrix, having ideas and thinking in general kind of creates energy on its own. So that's like the idea, but actual body heat, it's kind of a moot, like not really gonna power your city with a human. And then they were mentioning that Zion is closer to the core where they get heat down there. And it's like, why don't they just dig into the core and get heat that way?
That would make
And
sense. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, but no, let's do it with humans.
We wouldn't have a movie, JJ. Shut the fuck up.
Just, those are interesting plot holes. But anyways, go ahead.
So Morpheus begins to explain the Matrix in detail to Neo at this point, and basically lets him know, hey, in the early 21st century, humans started to use AI almost exclusively, and of course the AI takes over. We've seen this before, haven't we? In other films, right? We've had the same storyline, which is outstanding with this movie, by the way. That the tropes are the same tropes. Like we've seen this in Terminator, we've seen this in other movies, right? But they did it in a completely unique and different way, which is awesome. So you got to give them credit for that. They went along the same ideas, but they're like, no, we have a different twist on it, which actually is really interesting and really cool. So basically, Morpheus lets Neo know that once the AI start taking over, humans had scorched the sky to cut off the source of power, which was solar power. Then machines basically like, really? Oh, really? Then they basically just started learning how to mine humans and took the shit over and basically threw them in these pods. And then that's basically how we ended up where we are now. An interesting part of this that kind of got a little plot holy for me too was Morpheus did make a comment about how they never free a mind once it reaches a certain age. I don't know. There looked like there's a couple older people hanging out. I was like,
well, you don't know how long it was before they got out.
I don't.
To be fair, it never really stated, like, hey, Trinity got out when she was 14, or it never really fully stated that.
Cypher said he'd only been there for 9 years though.
Yeah,
so
well,
I don't know about that.
That actor has looked old since the 80s, so that doesn't count, dog.
Okay, I don't know, man. Joey Pants was looking like 50 in this movie, so I'm like,
because he was 50, dog.
I'm like, bro, he only been out for 9 years. I'm like, nah, this ain't adding up, but but it's all good. But anyway, then it starts to get to the cool training sequence with Morpheus and Neo as well, where he basically comes in and essentially starts to let him know, hey, we're about to get started. We're about to start making you into the one. Which anytime Morpheus is on screen at this point in the movie, he's the one. He's the one.
Yeah,
he's the one.
Well, speaking of, just to backtrack a little bit, when they first went into the contract and he was explaining how they scorched the sky and whatever, when the camera panned down, he's another cool ass line from Morpheus is like, "Welcome to the desert of the real." It's just like, I don't know what that means, but that shit was dope.
Yeah. No, look, man. Lawrence Fishburne was in his fucking bag in this movie.
He killed it, dude.
He was awesome in this, man.
I know kung fu. Show me, like, fuck yeah, dude. Show all of us. I want to see that shit.
Yeah, this is right before that is when Tank comes in, talks to Neo about being born in Zion, and they all have their own separate conversations with Neo about him being the one. Some people handle it better than others. Cypher's just a dick to Neo about it, obviously.
Yeah. He seems like a dick to everybody except Trinity. So, right,
because he wanted to hit, but and he basically admitted that later in the movie, but I thought Tank's conversation with Neo was actually really cool, and I think he was in a way he felt bad for him because he's like, this is a lot for you. We're gonna do everything we can to help you, though. I just want you to know we're here for you. I'm here for you. Everything I can do, I'm gonna make sure I do for you. We're a team. We're pulling for you. We're gonna be here for you, which is a nice way to present that to somebody.
Yeah.
Not look. I know Morpheus is his. Look, his heart's in the right place with this, but every time it's so intense. Every time Neo's with him, which is necessary. I get it. You have to prepare him, and when they get to the training sequence, every other thing he says to this guy is basically like, don't think you are. No, you are.
Yeah.
Body can't live without the mind. If you die in the Matrix, you die in reality. I mean, it's all heavy. I'm like, damn, Morpheus. I'm like, but the stakes are high, so I understand.
I do love that in the training sequence though, when he's just like, "Do you really think you think that's real air you're breathing?" He's like, "I'm like, you're a dick, dude. This is first time. Calm down."
No,
No, there's no calming down.
Yeah,
the
not for
writing in the
Morpheus.
story at this point also is consistently pushing it back and forth. Sorry, with us believing that Neo is actually just somebody thrown into something that he had no idea, or Neo is the one. It's always throwing us
Well,
back and
at
forth.
this point, we never really at this point in the plot, we hadn't really heard anything about the one, right? Like nothing yet, right?
I think Morpheus has already mentioned it a few times, but just a few, right?
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so there's just a few
He did.
times
He's already said.
Yeah, I believe you are the one. Yeah, he did say that.
Right. So the only time, the very first time that we actually understood that maybe there is something special about him was that training sequence. It was one of my favorite parts because the music and the action is moving. And then even then, like Neo's like, I know what you're trying to do. And he's like, I'm trying to free your mind. So that was a really cool moment, but that was finally the hint that there was something special about him. Other than that, the movie is doing its damnedest to show that Neo is actually just like everybody else, and he's just trying his best. So it's a really cool, I don't know, I like that fight, that conversation that is trying to happen.
Oh, it's awesome. They make sure they reiterate again in this movie how dangerous the agents are. Morpheus is essentially telling Neo, hey, they're sentient programs. They can take on any person that they want. And everyone that has ever fought an agent has died. I'm like, damn, Morpheus? I was like,
when that goes back to Switch aiming the gun at him in the car, right? Because he could have easily been turned into an agent at that point in time, and then they've just they would have been screwed.
So that didn't happen because
they were tracking him. They were trying to get to Morpheus.
Yes.
Okay, so once they pulled out the bug, why didn't they just turn into him? Never explained.
So anyway, I have a theory. I have a theory about this, though.
Yeah.
No, so I have a theory about this. So I think people that have either been freed from the Matrix or are being free from the Matrix are harder to incept.
Well, they said once you're free, you can't be turned back, is what they were saying.
Right.
Right.
I think once you're on that path, it's harder to you can't get to those people the same way. The program can't get to them. Yeah, at least that's kind of how I viewed it. From what they showed us in the movie.
I think,
and it makes sense because otherwise they'd just be turning anybody, right?
Right, but I think ultimately what they found out was like their main goal, like because they didn't give a shit about Neo, they wanted Morpheus, right? Well, Agent Smith in particular wanted Morpheus, so I think their way of getting to Morpheus was through him. So turning into him wasn't going to do anything. It wasn't going to, you know what I mean? It wasn't going to get to Morpheus.
Okay.
And we'll see later where they finally get to him is very interesting. And I have very, very many questions about that. And I'm interested to see what you guys think about that when they get to the Oracle. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, that's coming up because I'm like, wait a minute, there's some fishy business here. But the next scene after the trading sequence, we're back in the ship. And this is the first time that we start to see the Sentinels.
You can't gloss over the jump. You can't gloss over the jump.
Oh, I can't gloss over. Okay, let's go to the jump.
Yeah, the jump was supposed to be that moment where everybody in the audience, as well as everybody on the ship, believed that he was the one, right? And it goes back to what JJ was just saying, where it's like he's not the one in his mind or anybody else's except for Morpheus because he didn't make that fucking jump. Because everybody falls their first time, right? Everybody fucking falls their first time.
Trying to make sure that we know that he's not Jesus Christ just yet. He still
even Mouse was just like, well, what if he makes it? And there's like, he won't. And there's like, but what if he does? And in our mind, we're like, holy shit, like he's about to make this jump. And then he fucking falls flat on his face. So I thought that was a really cool moment. And it goes back to what JJ was saying about him just being a dude. He's not the one, at least at this point, he's not the one.
And it's a lot different than a lot of other movies when I handle this with him. Where, he just would have been OP the whole time.
Oh, yeah. It's a constant lead up of perfection. And seeing this type of... I really forgot how many times Neo, or Thomas Anderson, but he's Neo now, how many times he failed his way to be amazing. Like, it was a consistent ladder of, I'm not going to do this, I can't do this, or I'm trying to hang on, but I'm just a person, for most of the movie. And that's really, really refreshing to see that.
No, I thought so too. I thought it was really cool because it keeps you on your toes, and you're not really sure if he's the one either. You're not sure, he's not sure,
He's not sure,
and you have this connection with that character because of that, right? And you're not really sure what he's going to do, and he's not really sure, but you're both open to it, and you still feel like he's open to it. But it makes it more interesting that if he was just, we
don't have enough proof. Like there's not enough yet. So the story, still has to prove something to us.
And it makes it better when he does get to the point where he can prove it, and the payoff's more because if you don't want to make the payoff in some training program or something like that, and then you already see it, and you're just going like, oh well, then when he gets there, he should just be kicking ass. You don't want to see it like that. So that actually makes the payoff a lot better. But this is the first time that we see the Sentinels, and that we know that there's a threat to the ship, right? Which is important. So we know they're not just flying around out in this wasteland unopposed, right? So there's an existential threat. There's an existential threat everywhere, right? There's agents in the Matrix. There's Sentinels in this real world wasteland environment, right? That can attack the ship, and they basically go over what their failsafe is for that. So they have an EMP that they can turn on, electromagnetic pulse that'll take out the Sentinels if they get close enough, right? That is kind of looming over like the last half of the movie at this point, because it's a only use if you have to type of deal, right? And this is the only part of the movie that I thought the transition was weird. So you go right from this. Oh, let me point out, when the Sentinels start really coming down and Morpheus put his little beret on and shit, and it started getting serious. Like,
I forgot about the beret.
I was like, what's going on here, man? Like, my man was like, it's time. And he put the beret on. I was like, okay, all right, Morpheus. Hey, you letting him know. But this is the only part of the movie that I had a little issue with the transition. So Cypher has a one-on-one with Neo after this. Yes. Right, and eventually tells Neo in a condescending way, "Oh, you're here to save the world, and you're the one, right? Like you're gonna just save everything, basically just being a complete asshole to him." And at the end of that conversation, basically tells him that hey, ignorance is bliss, and kind of lets him know that hey, I didn't really choose this,
Yeah,
we're being told things. We're being told how things should be. You're being told that you're the one. You could believe it or not believe it. I don't know what I believe at this point. And he kind of leaves it open-ended. And then literally right after that goes into him having his little nightly meetings with the agent. And basically it's flashing on the screen at that point that Cypher's clearly informant. We already knew it. If you're paying enough attention to the movie at this point, you knew that. But yeah, he has his whole like breakdown of what he wants in his deal, and he makes his deal with the agent. He's telling the agent, he's telling the audience, I want to be put back into the Matrix. I want my memory erased. He's eating a fucking steak when he's talking to the agent, And like I said, 16-year-old me, oh man, this is terrible. How could he? Like no man, like you're turning on your people and everything. Yeah, I get it, man. Like when you really start to see the stakes. Because look, right after this, you see the goop you see the little like the little, not even porridge. I don't even know what the hell you would call that shit. That they were eating in the ship. You kind of understand, and the fact that they're literally, there's no clear, other than believing that there's a savior. There is no clear mission.
Yeah,
there isn't.
Yeah,
and I think Cypher did do a good job of making that point. He's just like, hey, look, man, like, this guy may be it, he may not. I don't know. He's like, but what I do know is I eat the slop every day, and we go on these missions, and we just run from these agents, and we go back and forth like this all the time, and these Sentinels come and attack us, and I haven't had a woman in a long time. Like, because look, we ain't talked about the inner workings of this ship, but
oh my god.
Because look, I'm just saying, there's one woman on this ship. All right, let's just
No.
keep it real.
Switch is
All
on
right.
there.
We could talk about that later too. There's one.
Okay.
I'm just keeping. There's one woman on the ship. So because originally in the original script, Switch was supposed to be a man in the real world and a woman in the Matrix. So,
I did read that.
and they decided to take that out, and they never really portrayed Switch in that way in this movie. I'm just going off of what they showed us. So, Trinity was sexualized, not in a way that I thought was cheap or cheapened her as a character.
It
but
wasn't
she was.
overbearing or anything. Yeah, but
No,
of course,
but she was sexualized.
Well,
So
we had to
you would've-
believe that they would get together. Is really what it was.
Right. But you would imagine, look, in the environment of this ship, they never went into it. There never was any romantic relationship between Morpheus and Trinity or any of the other men on the ship with Trinity. They were just doing their thing. But you would have to imagine there was some tension there. Now, it started to make more sense in the sequels when you got to Zion and you kind of saw how things worked there.
Fucking orgy going on.
Yeah. But
had
we
Cypher
haven't
just held on a little longer, dog. He could have had all them women.
Right. But we ain't seen that yet. So you have to kind of think about it from that point of view. It's like, yeah, I kind of can see this guy has got some grievances that I can understand.
Why,
so,
why didn't I take the blue pill?
Yep. So the next scene after this, we go to see the Oracle, right? So Morpheus has been talking about the Oracle for a while in scenes before this. And the Oracle defined the prophecy, right? So what do we know of the prophecy at this point so far? That there will be a one that comes from the Matrix that will free everyone outside of the Matrix is essentially the prophecy, right? And the original one was born in the Matrix, right? Isn't that what Morpheus said? Like the original one that freed the first humans outside of the Matrix was born in the Matrix, right?
Yes.
So that's essentially the prophecy. So ever since then, they're always waiting for the one to return. Allegory. So, so then message. So then we get to the to see the Oracle, and that scene's an interesting scene too.
It's a good scene, man. And she's such a great actress. Like the whole thing it just flows so well. That part where she was like, I could tell why she likes you. And he's like, who?
I love it.
Not too bright, though.
Not too bright, though. What I loved about it was she was like, don't worry about the vase. And he's like, what vase? And then she's like, what's really going to blow your mind is, would you have broken it if I didn't say anything? And it's just like, that to me, even now, is just like, holy shit. Like, man, like, was it fate? Or did she just, like, did she push the fate? Or did she, it's like, what?
Oh, yeah, she's a player. That's all it meant. She was a player in the game of manipulating everybody she's talking to.
That's the most important line in this whole movie, to me.
Yep.
Is that line. Because her telling Neo that he's not the one is essentially making him choose.
Right.
Okay, because if you just tell him, you're not making him choose. Like, and he may not choose, he may not make the right choice if he already thinks it. Like if he thinks it because you're telling him.
And
it's not his choice anymore. He has to do it out of free will.
She didn't literally tell him either. She made and this is the part where you tell me, like, and they were just going back and forth. And so the line that she only said, which is like, technically she didn't lie. You have the gift, but you're waiting for something. That's it. That's all that she really told him. So technically, she never really told him he wasn't.
Right. And
that's
then
true.
What was he waiting for? For Morpheus to get captured. And then even in that scene, we'll get to it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So they have their meeting. He exits the meeting. And they walk right into a trap, literally right out of the apartment from the Oracle and right into a trap.
Yep.
Right into a trap. So this is the part where I'm kind of wondering.
What was convenient about that too, though, is when they walked out, he could have literally said, "Hey, Morpheus, she said I'm not the one." And Morpheus looked at him and said, "What was said was for you and you alone. That's it." And he's just like, "Okay, but you literally told everybody the Oracle said you would find the one. Trinity has told everybody that she would fall in love with the one. How come his is only for him. Like it just didn't make any sense to me. That one
I don't
that's
think
one
Trinity
of those.
told anybody. I don't think she
No.
told anybody what the Oracle told her.
Well-
it was just Morpheus said. Morpheus was the only one that said
Right.
it.
So if this dude who's telling you that whatever she said was for you and you alone is telling everybody what she just said. Yeah, I don't
not
know.
great.
It just that one that never sat right with me ever. One thing I do like about that scene though is before all of that, when he's in the waiting room, you know, and he sees like the gifted children or whatever, and that kid is said, you know, he said there is no spoon. That to me is one of the most important lines too. Is just like because in thinking that way, like nothing is actually real. You can manipulate or you could do anything you actually want to if you just really think about it as it doesn't actually exist, right? There is no fucking spoon. There's no air, there's no gravity, there's no I don't get hungry, I don't, you know what I mean? Just like you could do anything if you could finally get past that point of just like this isn't reality anymore. There is no fucking spoon. And like that to me is just like that, you know, that's mind-blowing, you know, to think about that. And of course the vase and that whole Oracle scene is just like I love all of that. I wonder
what the Oracle told Cypher. Like, you're gonna fuck things up and you're gonna hurt lots of people. Goodbye.
Probably. And Cypher's probably like, okay, as long as I get to eat steak and be rich.
Can I eat some steak and be rich?
Yeah.
I wonder what she told Switch. Like, you know, Switch is gonna hang out for a minute and give us a blank stare. Like, you know, like what were
oh yeah. Oh, that's coming. That's coming.
All right, go back to this trap situation because you had a question for us.
I did. So I wanna circle back real quick on the spoon. The best part of that to me is similar to the line about the vase. The kid essentially told Neo to bend yourself and don't bend the spoon, which best explanation you could give, I think, about how to manipulate yourself in that world, I think was cool. And I was like, okay, it's the opposite of the sequels once again. A very simple way to say a complex thing. They did such a good job in this movie with that, and I'm still dumbfounded how it got so complicated in the sequels. Anyway,
they dropped the ball.
My
so
question.
Hard,
they did. My question with this situation, walking out from the Oracle into this trap, was this premeditated? Who set them up? What do you guys think? Like, what was
Cypher
it about
did.
this? Because
Cypher did. He dropped the phone in the
Cypher set them up, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So
remember when they were leaving?
Was he planning
he
this?
Opened up the phone and then he dropped it into the trash can to be like, "Hey, we're at this location."
Yes, but my question is, was he waiting for this exact setup? He got everybody together. They all went to see the Oracle. He knew they were good. So was he waiting for them to go see the Oracle for the setup? Was a perfect setup?
Yeah, I imagine he did. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious, kind of what you guys think.
I think that conversation with Agent Smith when he was eventually like, "Hey, I don't have the codes for Zion, but I can get you the guy who does, and here is how it's going to happen because eventually we're going to go see the Oracle, and when it does, I will phone you, and when that happens, we're going to be in this building at this time," and that's how they were able to set that up.
Okay, now I agree with you, and I think it makes sense because there's part 2 of his plan, which he gets out and gets back on the ship, right?
Yes.
So we'll get to that in a minute. So the crew gets caught in the trap. Mouse gets killed right away. Once all their escape routes get
cops and guns. Trinity took a lot of those guys out on her own, and Mouse had no idea what to do. What was his purpose?
He's a programmer, you know.
Okay.
So he writes
create
the
the woman in the red dress. Yeah, I do like
and
before that though. When you saw the cat go by and he saw it again, he went, "Oh, deja vu!" And they, boom, all of them stopped and turned around and said, "What did you see?" I love that because it's like as soon as you say deja vu, it's just like, "Oh shit, something changed," and all of them immediately were just like, "What did you see?" And he's just, "Oh, I saw a black cat." He's like, "Was it the same black cat? Was it similar? Did it look?" And it's just like, "Yeah, it was exactly the same." And they're like, "Oh shit, something fucking changed." So it's like immediately they knew that something was wrong. I actually thought that was.
It was very cool.
And then our programmer, who's defenseless, who should not have been in here, dies.
Yes,
I mean he was staring.
He
at
looked
that
cool. He looked cool though, and he got to you know to wield some artillery before he went out. That was pretty cool.
To be killed by regular humans, I'm still shocked. But anyways,
that was the sad part about it. He didn't get taken out by the agents.
bullets still kill.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. Oops. Ouchies.
But
Anyways.
Agent Smith finally gets his hands on Morpheus and starts whooping his ass.
Oh my God.
Right. So they were scaling in between the walls, right? So they did find an escape route out.
I love that scene.
Cypher, on purpose, not on purpose, you can decide, probably on purpose, starts sneezing inside the walls, gives their position away.
Correct.
Morpheus essentially busts through the walls, tells him to get Neo out. They slide down the rest of the way to the ground level.
I said
Morpheus exposes himself.
Morpheus is trying his hand at being the one. You know, he did a good job.
He did.
really,
Look, he
really
hung
did.
in there.
He was
He
getting
could look.
somewhere.
If Morpheus could do nothing else, he could take an ass whooping for
That's
extended
my
amount of time.
favorite. It's my favorite scene in the whole movie. Mine personally is when he busts through that wall and he starts fighting Agent Smith in that bathroom. I fucking love it. I love it so much. Like the fact that he knew, like his conviction on like this dude needs to get out because he is the one was so fucking powerful that he didn't care. He would sacrifice himself. And when he pushed himself through that wall, he was just like, you know, after telling Neo, you fucking run away. Agents kill everyone. He's like, he didn't care, man. He pushed himself through that wall and he's like, I'm going to stand up to this motherfucker regardless. And it was an awesome scene. I mean, he got his head through a fucking toilet, but other than that, it was a great fucking scene. Like,
and that's sad. Like they just told the scrubs to go beat him up. And then all of a sudden we got like a bunch of cops beating up a black guy. And I'm like, really guys?
It did look rather Rodney King-ish.
It
Yes,
did.
Hey, and Morpheus told them too. Y'all look the same to me. Like he let him know. I was like, damn, there's some other shit happening here. But
this is the first real time though that you saw what an agent was capable of. Like
yes.
in the entire movie. I fucking love it when he's on the ground and he fucking hits his elbows down and just like rises up. Oh, dude, I get chills right now just thinking about it. God,
so
I love it.
Let me ask you guys this too. So this is something else, kind of similar to what I was asking about Cypher and the Oracle and the setup for that. This is premeditated, right? Because this is personal for this agent, and this is when you start realizing the program has like some vendetta too, right?
Yes.
You're kind of like, wait a minute, this isn't just that they do what they do type of situation. This agent's been waiting for this, and he's toying with him, and he's like, I'm like, he could just, if he wants, just take him out. He's like, no, I'm gonna play with my food and all this shit. I'm like, so there's another layer to that happening here. And then Cypher ends up getting out. So Cypher gets out first, as far as the Hardline gets out, gets back on the ship, and essentially just starts going full Judas at this point. Just all the way Judas, man. I was like, damn, Cypher, he just went right into it.
Fucking straight kills Dozer, like
shoots Tank. Takes out Tank. Yeah, shoots him. And then starts on his whole villain fucking soliloquy, right? Basically kind of like, I don't like you, fuck you, you're not cool, like all this shit. Like, and he unplugs APOC, kills him, goes over to Switch.
I got some more questions about the fact that how close he got to Trinity's face. And I'm like, all right, listen, my mind's going to take this to a wrong place.
Yeah.
Would she feel anything if he decided to go like full on naughty with her and she's like in the Matrix? Where would that go? Like, oh God, that'd be so awful. But at the same time, she's like, fucking Neil's looking at her. He's like, Trinity, why are you constantly moving
I don't.
So many questions that are all wrong.
First off, JJ, what the fuck? Let's get that.
I would hope Tank would have got his ass by then.
Yeah. But no, I don't think so, because it doesn't seem like, because your mind is connected to the Matrix, like you're only feeling what's going on in the Matrix.
So yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
but she wouldn't have felt anything.
But if you're asking me, would I put it past him? No, I would not. So
right, that's what I was saying. It's like
I would not put it past
him. Kind of guy, and it's like, oh fuck, yeah. So, anyways, at least he just breathed on her. Thank God for her.
But he also had the classic villain bullshit where like he took too long explaining his plan, and like
that's true.
Yeah, it just anyway.
That because if he's the one, then I can't. That way he can't be the one if he's dead.
Right.
And that whole line was like super cool because
he's like, something would have to stop me from taking him out at this moment right now. And then when fucking Tank got up, he's like, no, I don't believe it. Because in his mind, I think right then he finally realized, like, holy shit, this guy might actually be the one. And then he fucking died.
That line could be both, because I still don't think he really believed. He just thought that Tank was dead. So I don't believe that he didn't believe that Tank got up.
I see it the other way. I see it as him, because he's literally said there has to be something out here that will stop me from killing him.
Maybe,
and then Tank got up.
I
and he
could
looked at
never
it. Oh
find
my god,
hope
no,
in
I
that
don't
guy.
believe it.
Like, I don't know.
He's like, believe it or not, you son of a bitch.
I mean, I guess it could have been said better, but you know, everyone's trying their best.
It wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as that. Not like this when Switch went down. And the dead stare, yeah.
Not like this.
Yeah.
It was way better than APOC, dude. He just did this. He did the head tilt back. Like, APOC did not give a fuck. He was just like, I'm out, bitches. That's it.
APOC had 3 lines in that whole movie. One of them was, I hope the Oracle gave you some good news. And the next line was, Trinity, and then fell dead. Like,
hey, look,
pretty much
APOC gave Neo his piece, though. He gave him his gun.
He
so
did.
We'll give APOC that too. Yeah, when they were getting ready to handle business, he pulled the gun. He handed that. So I was like, good for you, APOC. But yeah, basically the whole crew's pretty much dead at this point. Trinity and Neo get out. They're back on the ship. Morpheus is captured, and all looks lost for this crew. And at this point, they have to really decide. The agents have Morpheus. Can they leave Morpheus alive, knowing that the agents have him, because they might be able to infiltrate Zion and basically get information out of Morpheus? So they seriously discuss unplugging him. And of course, Neo can't have that, because he's like, wait a minute, I actually might be the one, or at least I might be able to go in and rescue Morpheus and find out,
right.
Right.
But it comes back to what I was saying before. It comes back to the free will, right? Where she's just like, oh, well, Morpheus is going to sacrifice himself to save you. He's just like, well, that's not right. But he said, I believe I can save him. Like, he had to make that choice in his mind. Like you said, it comes back to the free will, right? So he had to make that choice in his brain to be like, I believe that I could go in. I think I can do this. Like, I believe in my heart and my soul that I could go into this building and save him. Now, did he believe that he was the one at that point? I don't think so. I think it came to, he might have thought like, hey man, maybe I am special a little bit, after that, we'll get into that in a little bit. But when he said, I believe I can bring him back, like, he had to make that choice. Like you said, it comes back to the free will, right? Exactly what the Oracle told him. Because he looked at her and he said, I'm not the one. And she's like, no, that can't be, because she told me. And he's like, told you what? And then like, okay, well, she's not going to divulge that, like, hey, I think I love you, even though you're the only person alive to fuck right now. But like, it's all free will, right? It's the choice. He had to believe in himself that he could do this, that he had to get there on his own. And I think that this moment right now was him getting to that point.
It was a really good move to have that whole story and plot line go to the background. And now we're just focused on getting Morpheus out. So it's like the entire story moves in that direction, and we're finally given a moment where we don't have to think about, is he the one?
We were told as the audience too, he's not. You know what I mean?
Right. So and there's still some question about whether Morpheus is faith and everything is misguided, right? And that whole thing. No, we don't care. We just want to save Morpheus. It gives
that's
us
all it
the
is.
chance.
Yes.
Right. So
all I want to do is get in there and save him. That's it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, which leads us to our final showdown here. So Neo basically tells Tank, get us hooked up, get us geared up, get us all the weapons. All the
guns. Lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
Lots of guns.
One of the coolest scenes in the whole movie.
Yes.
They go into the construct and then the guns just start flying down, man. They're just standing there and basically just getting loaded up. And it's time to handle business. So they get all loaded up. They get all their leather and shit on. They get every gun that they could tuck in every belt and like sock and buckle and shoelace, just guns just hanging all off of them and shit.
And part of that scene when Trinity said like nobody's ever done anything like this before, and he said that's why it's going to work. I think in my mind, even like knowing now obviously that he is the one and like all that gets revealed later, but spoiler alert. But at that time when I saw it, I was just like, oh, well, like an assault on that building, at this time, even with the agents in it, like even in the agent's mind, in the program's mind, they're like, nobody could be this fucking brazen. They're not coming after him, and that's why it might actually work.
Which is hilarious because I feel like when you that happens a little bit in a moment, but the two agents were waiting for Smith's lead, and Smith was too busy acting like a human
I was just going to get to that.
To respond correctly, which is hilarious. Their biggest
he took his earpiece out.
Yeah.
And he went on his whole speech about how I'm sick of this shit and I'm tired of humans are a virus.
Like
I'm tired of doing this forever.
Yeah, he's a human. He's full blown complaining about work and he wants to take a vacation. And it's like that whole moment was their weakness. They're like, dude, he doesn't know. Like, oh shit, we've been waiting around for nothing. Like, yeah, that would have changed the story. And that was a really cool toss-in that they did there.
I do love that scene when he's talking to him. And my favorite part is when he goes, like, I hate this place. It's the smell. And he says, if there is such a thing. And in my, like, that little subtle line was just like, oh yeah, like he's not a like he has no idea what smell is. He doesn't know what taste is or breathing or it's just like he's just a program. Like it's the smell if there is such a thing. I was like, oh shit, that's such a cool little throwaway line. It's just like but it's like it fits so perfectly with his character.
But what does he want? What do they all want? Freedom.
He wants freedom. Correct. He wants to not.
He wants freedom.
Be in his 9 to 5.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah, he's tired of this shit. And he's like, if you didn't exist, I wouldn't even have to do this. I would just have a much easier time. I could breeze around even as a program. I could just do my thing. But because I'm written this way, because this is what my duty is, because you exist, I have to do this forever. As long as you exist. And like, I actually kind of felt bad. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was like, he's a piece of shit, but I was kind of like, oh man, I kind of understand. Like, that's a rough situation for you, my friend. I still hope they get you.
There was no.
I had a little bit because I was kind of like, because it's the same conversation we're having about Neo and Neo having free will, and Agent Smith not really having it, but wishing he did. It's a
more
really
of a
cool
wish.
Yeah, there are two things happening at the same time. They're going in two separate paths. Where Neo's finding his, and Agent Smith is realizing how much of he doesn't have or never will have, as long as humans exist. So it's cool. It's cool that they set that up. That was a really smart thing. So we get to like the most badass action sequence in this entire movie after this, and they start coming through this lobby and just fucking shit up.
The only thing I don't like about this scene, it's something Jabari and I laugh about all the fucking time, is when he first steps through, and he's like, oh, you have any like weapons, blah, blah, and he like opens up his shit. The guy goes, holy shit. And he fucking hits that dude and he pulls up like two MP5s and he shoots, either side of him. There's a dude reading a newspaper that clearly just like rips the newspaper in half when it's supposed to be like shooting him in half. It looks so bad. I fucking love it. Oh,
can we talk about something too? This is a perfect time to bring this up. So all these people that they're shooting are people, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
but
let's
they can
just
all
put
be
this
turned
out there.
into agents. Like that.
I know.
Okay.
But I know we're on the whole like Zion, and we got to rescue humanity, and we got to get the people out. They are killing these people. Okay, that's the one thing that kind of
you can't make an omelet, Dennis.
I get it, but they never acknowledge this at all in the movie. The characters at all in the movie never acknowledge this.
Morpheus let him know that they can't free a mind that's too old. So basically, everyone over the age of 25 is immediately, understandably, a part of the system.
They're immediately dead. Yeah,
yeah. There's no qualm. They're batteries for the bad guy.
So there's no Batman mentality here, right? Where it's like we got to throw a grappling hook around them and and all that, like make sure that we hanging them above the rafters, we don't kill anybody. No, they're just shooting any and everything.
Yep.
They're not asking any questions.
It's really
You know?
dark. It really is, if you really think about it. Yeah, these
It
guys have
is.
fake families back at home, or people who think they're family. It's
Yeah.
just like,
So wherever they are in their little pod, you know,
they're dying.
they're gonna get
and
turned
being
into goop
flushed out.
and refed to the other pods or whatever the hell the AI does with them. I don't know. They liquefy
Right.
them and refeed them. I think they said at some point in the movie.
Yep.
But
Yep.
But I was just like, oh my god, like, you know, once it kind of dawns on you at a certain point in this movie too, probably about halfway through, where you're like, wait a minute, all these people they're shooting, because you know what changed it for me, and this was a smart thing that they did, because they made everybody that ended up being in conflict with them authority figures, right?
Yes.
So
Yes,
they're
you're right.
cops, or
Yeah.
they're agents that turn in from cops. But this is the one time where it was just like security guard or some guy sitting on a chair, where you're
Yeah.
just like, damn, that guy was just kind of minding his own fucking business.
And
You
speaking
know,
of that,
it's kinda like,
a random homeless dude gets run over by a train. That's even
Yes!
more dark.
yes, it's so dark. I'm like, what is going on? So anyway,
Right.
I
mean,
have in my notes in this scene, I just have bullet time in all
Yeah.
caps with like 13 exclamation points next to it. This was incredible, and I don't think we can emphasize enough in this. This is the hard part for like anybody that's under the age of like 35, probably seeing this. You're just not going to get it in a certain way. You're just not going to understand when this first came out and you first saw this. It's hopefully in a theater, how incredible this is and how incredible this was. Like, especially this scene in the movie, and then when you really find out how they put it together and that they did a lot of it practical, there was a lot of wires involved. The pillars that they blew up, they actually blew them up. You know, they used real explosives. It was awesome. It is just an awesome
Trinity
scene.
had the flashiest shit. I mean, that kick to the shotgun
Yes.
and then blasting him was like, I was like, shut up. Like, it was so good. Of course, you know, Neo and the flips and everything and still shooting. And the way the actors looked like as soon as they hit the ground and quickly, like, they really tried to make it look like one motion. It was fantastic. But Trinity had some most amazing stuff from what I saw.
And I will say this. I know that the action sequences in Matrix Reloaded are like this times 1,000, right? But I actually still think this is better, and I think the bullet time looks better in this. I think it works better in the first movie and the second movie, because
Well, a
they
lot
just
of
start
the-
straight using CG in the second
Yes,
movie.
that's exactly what I was going to say. A lot
And
of those
that
scenes were
did not
just
age
CG,
well.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't look good. It didn't look good back then. It looks terrible now. So
Yeah.
seeing the actors actually do these moves and shit, yeah. And what I love about it, like watching it back, none of what Trinity does is in slow motion in this scene, and everything that Neo does is in slow motion.
It's in slow motion.
So like,
yeah.
in my mind, I just imagine Neo just running all slow as shit, and Trinity's just like over here kicking the shit out of these dudes and like flipping shotguns and fucking killing people. Yeah, it's just
He shot 3 guys and she killed everybody else.
yeah, she killed like 17 people. Yeah, yeah.
You're the one, Neo.
yeah. You're the one that they're shooting at and distracting me. Yes, so I can get in there and kill them.
It's like an online gaming situation, right? Where you just kind of, I'm gonna kill 20 guys. You're gonna kill 5.
Exactly. You got that
This
one
settings
guy with
was
like a
set to
point
easy.
0.75 KD, yeah, and you've killed fucking 14 people. Yeah.
You're like, hey, we had a good campaign. It's kind of like, what's
Neo
this
was
we?
still on dial-up, man. He was still on dial-up trying to connect.
Yeah.
So they had to take care of business.
This scene defined like so many like different movies after this one scene. It was just like, fuck me, man. Like I remember seeing it for the first time. It blew my fucking mind. Like watching him do flips and like grab the gun while it's on the ground and like fucking shoot it. Ah, dude, it's so fucking good, man.
Look,
I
let's
think they
not. Oh,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, let's not discount the soundtrack either.
Oh, yeah. That's
I mean,
true.
this is the like 90s industrial heyday, like soundtrack. Like, man, you had and the drum and bass and the trance, like they had it all cooking in this, especially in the action scenes. Like, yeah, I mean, you can't get no better than this. And even going back to it now, I'm just, you get hyped up just hearing the music. If you just hear any of these songs or any of the score,
Yeah.
you immediately are just kind of like, oh yeah, like you feel like you can run up a wall, you know? Or maybe that's just me. I run up a wall and bust my ass if I hear this music.
Yeah, no, I'd fucking like hurt.
I don't know
myself.
if this is true, but the last scene when it shows that they're
My
going up
knees
the
hurt
elevator,
just thinking about that shit.
the last scene when it shows that they're going up the elevator and the camera just is panning at the destruction and a tile falls.
I hate that.
I heard
no, that part, yeah, I love. Yeah,
no, the tile falling I heard was complete by accident.
yeah.
And they
Yes.
just obviously kept it in. It obviously made the scene better. But anyways, I like cool little shit like that. Like it makes me smile.
Now the scene after that with the fucking door, I fucking hate that so much. It's so
Yeah,
cheesy.
it looks weird. I didn't like
It's
it
so
either.
The elevator one. Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
like it back then, and yeah, like yeah.
So
But again, when they're going up the elevator, he's there is no spoon. So in his mind, he's just like finally accepting, like I can do this. I can do anything, right? Like if I just bend myself and not the spoon, you know, like I can do this.
starting to pay off. Yeah, so they exit the lobby. Like we were just discussing, they take the elevator up in the coolest way possible, while also basically laying waste to the lobby at that point. They basically dropped explosive down when they let the elevator go back down, and they took the elevator cable to the roof, and they get to the roof where they're confronted by agents, and they have a showdown, which essentially is the coming out party, or the beginning of the coming out party for Neo at this point, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he Neo unloads on one of the agents, right? Basically empties his clip on him, and the agent just dodges all the bullets, but not just dodges them, okay? Like bends his body, and where we're just kind of like, oh shit! Like if you're watching it, she's like, it's one thing to like move out of the way,
Yeah.
but yeah,
His
this dude
legs
is
never
like,
move. If you
No.
go back and watch it, like his legs don't move. It's just his top half moves all over the fucking place. Yeah.
yeah,
Damn.
it was some crazy shit. So, so of course, Trinity at that point's panicking, like, oh, you gotta run. Like, what are we doing? And Neo just he stands his ground. The agent unloads on him, and he dodges the bullets
Yeah.
for the most part. He gets nicked
Almost all of
by
Correct.
yeah, but he's alive, and he did it, and he proved it to himself. And then we get one of the coolest moments in the movie where Trinity runs up on the agent, basically shoots him in the head, and basically lets him know, like,
I love
dodge
that
this.
shit.
Like, yeah, that shit
when
was
he's
cool.
like pointing the gun down, he's like, only human. She's like, dodge this. That's fucking so badass.
Yeah, it was
You
dope.
move
And
like
then
they do. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
you move like they do. Yep, and she
He's
basically
like,
let him
"Not
know, and he
fast
was kind of
enough,"
like,
'cause in his mind, again, he's still not believe. He's just like,
He's
she's
still
like,
not quite
I've never seen
there.
someone
Yeah.
move that fast. He said, not fast enough. It's just like, yeah, he still doesn't fucking believe.
so Morpheus is still across the street, right? So essentially their plan is that they didn't want to go into that building, go up and extract him. They were trying to go across and extract him so they can see him. How are they going to get to him, right?
No, they're in the same building.
No, so he's across the way. So
No,
So-
he's not. That's why when the explosion happened in the lobby, that's why the sprinklers went off. They're in the same building.
okay. So I always interpreted that he was across.
The same building.
It's
Yeah,
the same
I'm pretty
building.
Sure I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's the same building. Yeah, that's why there was so many fucking.
They just so
like-
happened to get a helicopter, and now they're going to
Yeah,
be
there
able
was
to
a
get him.
helicopter on the roof, which is why they went to the roof so they could come down and save him. Yeah.
Oh, to come down and get him and then take him down that way. Okay, well
Yes.
that makes sense. So they retrieve the helicopter. Trinity basically lets Tank know that she needs to know how to fly this helicopter. Tank
love
does this
that.
thing. Yeah, and they, she hooks it up for him, and then they basically get this helicopter and go. What they think is going to be a pretty quick retrieval because they got this minigun on the helicopter they could just spray down these agents with. Right. So Neo
Bullet
starts
time,
unloading
baby.
on this.
Bullet time, baby.
Yeah. And it's all going pretty well, except for the fact that Morpheus is beat to shit. And they can't just go in and pull him out. At this point, he's going to have to get himself to them, and then they're going to have to make the escape that way. And to Morpheus' credit, in the most dramatic way possible,
Yes.
his eyes rolling around his head and all that shit, breaks the cuffs and starts running towards the helicopter. One of the agents appears. Was it Agent Smith?
It was.
Yeah.
It was Agent Smith that appeared at that point, shoots him in the leg. Morpheus still makes it to the window, still jumps, but Neo has to meet him halfway. So Neo jumps out, catches him in the air. And then basically they take off in the copter after that. Of course, the copter gets shot. So, of course, they're spiraling a little bit. And for the story's sake, because you can't have them all like peacefully and easily land in the same place. They're gonna land separately, but they're gonna have to get down and make their escape from there.
Dennis, you gotta talk more into your microphone, man. You keep going all the way up.
Oh, okay, my bad.
No,
But so they get away for the most part at this point. And then this basically ends up in another chase scene, which the one thing I thought was cool in this movie too is I think chase scenes, and especially like foot pursuit chase scenes, could get pretty boring, and you could lose your orientation really easily with these. But they set these scenes up so well where they decided to take them, and they didn't basically take you all over the place for the most part. When you had to get somewhere to have the actual scene have like some kind of a resolution, right? So in this point, they just take this down to the subway, right? It's underground.
You just gonna gloss all the way over the helicopter exploding? What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah, well,
come
my
on.
so okay, so
what's wrong with you, bro?
So the helicopter's going down. At this point, Morpheus and Neo both out of the helicopter. Neo has to save Trinity, right? Grabs on to one of the grappling hooks that's attached to the helicopter. And, of course, Trinity can't just grab onto the shit and cut the line. Of course, she has to shoot it and has to look cool.
Yeah, of course.
When she comes out.
I remember watching this in the theater, and I was thinking, wait a minute, is Trinity going to take the hit for saving Morpheus? Like, I remember truly thinking that this could be it for her. And Neo just made a trade and didn't realize what he did. Like, I don't know. I just thought, since I saw so many of everybody else on the team die, it's a very real possibility. She's in true danger. And Morpheus is as well. Like, so I don't know. I like that the movie's stakes as far as the characters and where they were going are truly very high.
No, it was. And at this point, you could tell Neo, this is his way of showing love for her, because he did that out of love. He didn't do that out of, look, he would have rescued anyone at that point. If it was Tank or Mouse or anybody, like anybody that was in there, he would have done. I don't know. I think he would have rescued him. But the way he said Trinity, he was basically saying like, that's my boo. I gotta get her. Like, I gotta rescue her. So, so he rescues her, and then at that point their whole deal is they got to get out. Okay, so they make their way down to the subway at that point and try to find a hard line. And there's a payphone. They spot the payphone, and of course they can't just get on the phone and leave. That would just be too easy. They have to have some conversation about it first, which I don't know why. Just get
Morpheus got out first, and then that homeless dude saw him, and then Agent Smith was able to say, "Oh shit, I know exactly where they are."
Right, and spot them at that point. And then Trinity's basically like, I have something I have to tell you, blah 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 blah, and all this shit. And it's just like, just get on the phone and get it. You could tell them on the ship, But she gets out barely, because Agent Smith basically takes over the homeless guy and shoots through the phone booth at that point. But she was already gone, and Neo's left behind for the, of course, the cool final fight. Which, the way that they did this was interesting, and they got a lot done in this fight, because they actually wrapped up a lot of shit and answered a lot of questions in this one fight. That was actually kind of like 3 separate fights.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have the first part of it where they fight on the subway platform right there, and Neo's getting his ass beat, and this is something that my man was putting like the super punches on his rib cage and shit. Like,
yeah,
eventually, yes,
right,
he did, but
his
like
supers properly.
Yeah, so eventually he did. The only reason he got pushed to that point is because Neo was fighting back, and Neo was getting the upper hand there a couple of times. Like, he really did. The only thing I don't like about that fight is when he fucking sticks his hand out and he chokes him, and I'm like,
me and my son laughed at that.
Of course, yeah. It's ridiculous. I'm like, he's a fucking computer program. He doesn't choke. Like, what? I was like, okay, I could suspend a little bit of like disbelief here, I guess, but I was like, okay.
But they end up on the subway tracks, because of course Agent Smith has to take him down there to have a dramatic kill, because he's gonna play with his food. He's not just gonna take him out. he's gonna make it something where he has to show him his suffering, basically. Because Agent Smith seems to be into this shit. I got to show you the suffering. There's a train coming. I got you. There's nothing you can do. Blah 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 blah. So Neo ends up stunning Agent Smith and basically letting him know my name is Neo. He has this moment. He flips off of the track and is fucking badass. The train hits Agent Smith, and of course we don't think that's the end of Agent Smith, right? Like there's no way, right? So I don't think even Neo thought that at that point. I think he knew better than that.
When I saw Agent Smith come back out of the train, and then he was right there, then that explanation in my head was like, this is why everyone dies when they fight an agent. Because even if they win, they're not going to do it again.
They don't win. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like, okay, so that question if he's the one because he just killed an agent is still in the air, because it's like he didn't really kill him. Like he's still there. Like it's not happening.
Yeah, even if you're able to take one out, they could just jump to another body and then come at you again. And they're not tired. They're not,
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't feel remorse. I'm sorry.
Pretty much.
Had
at
to
this
bring
point,
it back.
I mean, it's like this shit ain't gonna stop. And I think Neo realizes that at this point too. He's like, yeah, let me just try to get out of here at this point.
Yeah. It's like I'm just trying to get a high score, and it's ruining things.
Right. So he starts his retreat and starts running through the buildings again, and essentially ends up in a trap where Agent Smith gets the upper hand.
No, okay. Well, kind of two things are going on, right? So, like in the real world, they found their location, so they're sending squiddies after him, right? They're sending the Sentinels.
The Sentinels, yeah.
But when Tank says, I will not forget this, he says, I found an old exit at Wabash and Lake. When you saw him jump up in that building, Agent Smith goes, oh shit, this is exactly where Trinity was before. It was the old
same building at the beginning of the movie.
The same building at the beginning of the movie. So it wasn't really a trap to be, like in the beginning, but as soon as he saw the building, he goes, oh, I know exactly where he's going. So,
yeah, I don't know. That's a trap to me. Like, not that Tank did that on purpose,
right?
But it's still a trap in the sense that they know where to get him. And Agent Smith is going to be waiting for him in that room when he opens that door. It's a trap. However we want to look at it. But he gets there, he gets to the room, he opens the door, and Agent Smith is there and shoots him in his chest. And, at that point, you're kind of like, oh, wait a minute. What's going to happen now? What's happening here?
Yeah.
Because you have this threat from the Sentinels going on. You have them potentially having to flip this EMP. And then you got Neo who shot. And then Agent Smith just goes ahead and finishes him off at that point.
Oh, yeah. He shoots him like 16 more times.
I was like, damn. And he flatlines. He flatlines on the ship.
He dies.
And he dies. And they see that shit. And they're just basically like, kind of like all hope is lost type of thing. I don't know. What do you guys think about Morpheus in that moment, though? Do you think he ever lost?
Yeah, it was on his face.
He didn't know how to function without his face.
Exactly. Which is why he didn't twist the EMP immediately, because he was just like, he's like, that can't be, because I put all of my faith into this. This dude he's the one. He can't be dead because he's the one. You saw it actually showed a shot of him like, no way, like I can't believe this is real. Even when the Sentinels were attacking, like he was numb, like he couldn't fucking do anything.
Yeah, Sentinels would have ate everybody up. He wouldn't know how to even push that button and just cut his losses. He wouldn't do it.
Right. Okay, but do you think he ever stopped believing though?
No, he the minute that happened, I think that he thought it was impossible, so he couldn't process it.
Yeah, okay. So I don't think it was it was disbelief in the fact that like this can't be true because the Oracle said this and this, and I believe that, you know what I mean. So yeah, I think he just shut down.
Yeah.
Okay.
He couldn't move on. Yeah.
Now who didn't shut down?
Trinity.
Trinity.
No, Trinity. She didn't even question it.
Nope.
So.
Yeah, she's like, you can't be dead because she told me I would love the one and I love you. And then,
her faith was even further along because, she needed that dick.
Yeah, she said the man I love would be the one. Even though you're laying there and you're probably dead, I'm going to lay this kiss on you.
Yep.
And one way or another, yep. I'm gonna get a chance to do this because she was gonna get a chance to do it one way or another. She didn't care at this point. She loved him, regardless of what
Yep.
this. And I don't even think she necessarily knew that that's what that would mean, but she just loved him and wanted to do that. She wanted to at least be able to say it, and to be able to experience that either way. So she, she went through that and did that, and Neo comes back to life, right after at that point, and not only does he come back to life, like he is full on, like the one at this point. This is the one incarnate. This is when the one starts to happen, right? This is when it all starts going down. He gets back up in the real world, essentially where he wakes back up. We should say he comes back to life, but he definitely gets back up in the Matrix, like in that hallway.
Yeah. What happened to him? If you're ever to talk as far as like a IT guy, he went from a user to an admin.
Yes.
That's all. That's what happened. And it's like seeing the Matrix code and everything is like basically he is the Matrix. If he has the source code, he can just do whatever he wants. Like
Right.
there's nothing that's stopping him from it.
But his old self had to die
Yeah.
in order to get there.
In
right?
order to get there.
Right.
Yep. Symbolism. Woo.
What?
And then you had Morpheus get to have his moment. He's the one.
Yeah. It was like we're gonna die though. And then I like
Liza
that part.
Nagalib. You got that?
So he's flexing his powers, and Trinity's like reminding him we're all gonna die. Could you please hurry the fuck up and stop flexing?
Basically, yeah. So yeah, he was doing the one. He put the one hand on him when he was blocking his shit.
Yeah.
He didn't even have to dodge the bullets this time. He just put his hands down,
just
stopped them
yeah.
and dropped them to the floor. And those agents were like, "Nah, son, like we're good. We're out of here. We're not here for that."
He jumped
Yeah, they
into
took
Agent Smith and fucking and killed him that way.
My son asked me, "What did he do?" And I'm like, "He sent them to the recycle bin." And I was like, "But he's in
Basically.
the sequels." They explain that. So,
Yeah.
He was McAfee virus protection at that point. Yeah.
Yep. And the coolest part of this too is they still have the Sentinels to worry about, right? And
right.
They do trigger that EMP. Not sure if Morpheus or Neo got out in time or not. Right. So they kind of were right at the edge
Man,
of whether or not that happened.
Twins were taking selfies with Neo. Like that's how close they were.
Yeah.
They were like right there. Just like
It was right there.
Oh.
And yeah, he makes it out. Now this is the only thing, and I think people, I don't know, I can't really say this for sure. How do people feel about the ending of this movie? The voiceover and him flying away and everything.
I hated it.
I thought it was garbage too. I never
so
liked
cheesy.
the ending of this.
Yeah, I never did either.
Yeah. Well, JJ, how do you feel about the end of this?
I liked the fact that it seemed like, because obviously this movie, it has a lot to say about systems of control, right?
Okay.
And so the understanding of like having that narration, it was like a statement, and more of an overall statement with how things are coming to play in the story, but more for the audience, which is kind of strange, right? And the fact that he gets to a moment where it's like, well, my next step is basically to free everybody, and then he flies away. I liked the fact that it's like it kind of gives us an idea of an imagination of where we think it's going to go and how amazing he is. Now, does it make it a good ending? Probably not. But as a kid, when I watched it and there was only one Matrix movie, I always thought like, wow, he's basically like Superman in the Matrix. Like my imagination went to places that let me write the story after that. And my story was pretty cool and what amazing things he could do. So that was neat. I was just, that's the one thing about the sequels that kind of like is awesome and also sucks, is that we find a Neo that has limits. And I'm like, oh, but my Neo doesn't have limits. That doesn't make sense. So it's like, yeah, that ending is cool. And they kind of ruined it later.
That's part of it for me too. It was like when I saw it back in the day, it just looked cheesy, like when he flew away. But even him saying, he said, "I'm gonna like show these people this is something you don't like, a world that you don't want them to see." And it's like if he just got up and started flying, like how many fucking people, you know what I mean? Like would he actually like that would probably affect pretty much everybody. And then you get to the sequel, and it's like, oh, you got like 6 people out tight. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like, like you just flew in front of millions and millions of people. Like, it didn't make any sense. I
Yeah.
just thought it looked cheesy. I didn't mind the voiceover so much, and maybe if there was only one Matrix movie, it would have been an okay ending to be like, oh, okay, he did what he was supposed to do. He did what the one was supposed to do. He showed everybody the world that they, didn't want him to see, and he got everyone out. Happy ending. Blah blah blah. It didn't end up that way. Like it doesn't work with what came after that, I should say.
Yeah, it's my biggest gripe with this movie by far, and I think for the most part there wasn't very many missteps in this at all, and I thought they did a good job, especially transitioning scene to scene and keeping the narrative and the thread of the movie really consistent all the way through and keeping you engaged all the way through. The only time that got weird was with the Cypher stuff. It was just kind of clunky at that part where he had that conversation with Neo, and then they went right into Cypher having his Judas dinner with the agents. But other than that, everything stayed pretty smooth until this. And then you have this like pretty climactic moment, and you get to have this cool release because there's so much tension the whole movie. And look, you don't feel like they won necessarily, right? Because like they're still a threat, and you still have to see what happens, right? But you just saw this dude be a complete badass. I think that was enough complete badass to show. I think
Yeah.
showing him literally blow up Agent Smith, stop bullets and all that shit, see the code, that's enough. Didn't have to have the dude fly away, man. Like, I was kind of like, it was so, I don't know. I'm with Tim on this 1,000%. I was kind of like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Because
it's
where the hell do
cheesy
you
as
even
fuck.
go from there with that? Yeah, it was a little rough, but I don't know. It didn't ruin the movie or anything, or it didn't ruin the mood, but it kind of left it in a weird place, I think, walking away from it, because I was kind of like,
The vibe from the
What-
movie definitely was a little bit more like, huh? yeah. I will say that. When I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess he's just Superman now. But I mean, I kind of agree with you. For me, the weaker parts of the story was a little bit when we were back in the Matrix and sometimes went back out of the Matrix. And maybe, I don't know, I don't want to be biased toward it, but so when we were outside the Matrix and we were dealing with being in the ship and dealing with the crew, I just felt like some of those parts were weaker, and it gets totally exacerbated in the sequels where
oh man,
spending hours outside the Matrix, and it was just like, somebody just shoot me. So
I mean,
maybe
even
there's
Agent
some
Smith
bias
got
on
out
my
of the
part.
Matrix.
Like,
It
I've
just-
been scarred so much that I don't even want to see it in the original. So it's kind of rough. But anyways, those were my weaker parts of the story, and some plot holes, but otherwise, really fast, really smooth. The dialogue is amazing. And yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
yeah.
agree.
Look, I don't want to leave this on that note. Like, I
No.
hopefully we could leave this saying that
No.
this movie is incredible. It holds up
Yeah,
very well.
overall the movie's fucking great, man. It was just as hype when I was watching it this time as like, maybe not as the first time I saw it, discovering what the Matrix is and shit, but like now I look forward to certain scenes, and I look forward to seeing the action again and seeing the bullet time and all that shit. And like the movie, it
Rewatchable is this movie, by the way, because when you go back and you watch it and you know what the Matrix is, it's in another movie.
yeah,
So-
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's
No,
really good.
I still enjoyed it very much. And I hadn't seen it in a while. I hadn't seen it in a few years. When I watched it last night, and I was still pulled into it pretty good. I was, probably about 20 minutes into it, I was kind of like, oh yeah, like I knew it was coming, but I was looking forward to it, even though I knew it was coming. Just kind of looking forward to
Right.
to the progression of it, just because of the way that the story builds. It's just a cool watch. It's just a fun way to go through a movie. Like, I don't want to keep harping on this, but what they did after this was not as fun.
No.
It was tedious. Like, those movies are tedious to get through. This movie was not tedious to get through. It was not. Like,
No, it's not.
they do a good job. They balance it a lot. It's a very good movie, and it's one of the most important movies. I think we have to make sure we point that
Yes.
out. It's super important.
Yes. There's a lot of directors out there that cite this as like one of the most important, sci-fi movies like ever made, legitimately. And it changed the way cinematography was done. Bullet time started getting added into commercials, and I don't even know if this was like the first thing to do it necessarily, but like it was the first one that just put it on the big stage like that, for sure, in front of everybody's eyes. couple of the cool little facts about this. Obviously, there was a lot of Japanese animation, and or comic books influence in this. So I did look up a couple of things. There was a comic book called The Invisibles. It was by a writer called Grant Morrison. The story is actually about a character. It was referred to as the One, whose destiny is to free humanity from a false reality. The Wachowskis also have cited, the anime Ninja Scroll as a major influence for the action and whatnot. There's a Japanese anime called Megazone 23, which was from 1985, where the lead character discovers humanity is living in a simulated reality. Also, one of the biggest influences, and I know Dennis knows this for a fact, Ghosts in the fucking Shell.
Oh, 1,000%.
I'm pretty sure they took like direct scene by scene, like shots from the anime and put it into this movie. Yeah. The film is kind of known now as like a trans metaphor, with what the Wachowskis went through, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying about Switch and stuff like that. Switch was supposed to be, male outside of the Matrix, but female inside of the Matrix. Keanu Reeves was not the first choice to play Neo. Check out this fucking list, dude. Johnny Depp passed on it. Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Wahlberg, Ewan McGregor, Nicolas Cage, and Brad Pitt also said no to playing Neo. Lou Diamond Phillips was sent the script, and he turned it down when his agent said it's a guaranteed flop. And at one point, apparently, David Schwimmer was in the running to play fucking Neo, dude. Could you imagine that shit?
David Schwimmer.
David Schwimmer, dog.
Nah, dude.
No, not that guy.
And check it out. Lorenzo de Bonaventura, who was one of the executives at Warner, said no. So many people turned down the role that we were getting desperate. They sent the script to Sandra Bullock and said that they would change Neo to a girl. When she sent the script, she would see if she said it wasn't interesting to what she would do in her time. And most famously, the role of Neo was offered to and turned down by Will fucking Smith, one of the biggest movie stars at the time, like in the world. He turned down the Wachowskis to make Wild Wild West. He has since said, and I quote, "I'm not proud of it." Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Hugo Weaving all got injured in the making of this movie. Keanu Reeves actually had to have like back surgery, and to where like he couldn't do a lot of kicks in this movie. So if you actually go back and watch it, he doesn't do a whole lot of kicks.
That's true.
Like where Morpheus does kicks and Trinity does like a lot of them do kicks and stuff, but like he doesn't do a lot of kicks because apparently like he got hurt really bad and had to do surgery. Carrie-Anne Moss got hurt in the very first scene that she was shooting, in the very first scene of the movie, and she was so afraid of losing her job over the injury, she didn't tell anybody and just fucking toughed it out. Which is like what a boss bitch.
Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah, holy dude. Crap. And she wasn't the first choice either. Marissa Tomei, Salma Hayek, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Jennifer Lopez, Angelina Jolie, Drew Barrymore, Gillian Anderson, Uma Thurman, Lucy Liu, Elizabeth Hurley, Madonna, and Janet Jackson all turned down the role.
And Uma Thurman and Lucy Liu are the only two I could see out of that group doing it.
Jada Pinkett Smith also auditioned. She's actually has screen tests with Keanu Reeves, but the Wachowskis said that they had no chemistry together, and later they cast her as Niobe in The Matrix Reloaded.
That's true.
Yeah. Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne also wasn't the first choice. Check this shit out, dude. Samuel L. Jackson, Gary Oldman, Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington, Anthony Hopkins, and Robert De Niro were all considered, and the role was offered to and turned down by Russell Crowe, Chow Yun-Fat, and Sean Connery. All of those people were offered roles in this fucking movie, dude.
Can I get Robert De Niro as Morpheus? Can I ask? That is incredible.
Russell Crowe said he couldn't get past the 42 pages of the screenplay. Connery turned it down because he didn't understand the script. Yeah, so, and then, I think it turned out pretty well because Morpheus is, again, we went back and, he's...
One of my notes is Morpheus, is a substantial part of this movie.
Yes.
I can't, when he was introduced, just like you were saying, Dennis, in that scene, that iconic scene of the red pill, blue pill, when he was first introduced, man, this guy makes a lot of this movie. So the three make a big role in it. But yeah, those pillars are pretty much Morpheus, and then of course Trinity.
Yeah. And just like think about how different the movie would have been with those like different actors in there. It
Oh,
probably
man.
wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean?
No,
Like it
maybe
probably
not.
wouldn't have. And obviously Morpheus is, in Greek mythology, Morpheus is the god of dreams, but actually the Wachowskis named him after Morpheus from the Sandman comic by Neil Gaiman, and Lawrence Fishburne actually based his performance around that character, which is really fucking cool. Let's see, what else did I have written down here? Oh, super cool. When they went into the construct for the first time, where the lady in the red dress is, if you go back and watch it, there's everybody kind of looks the same, where you see like you think you see the same character over and over again. The Wachowskis actually hired a bunch of twins, and so they put him in that scene. If you pay attention, like the passersby in this, it seems like you're looking at the same person more than once, because the constructs duplicate the characters, as it's not as enormous as the Matrix. So like all the characters are like they're just a bunch of twins, and so it looks like the same character over and over and over again. I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome.
Also, the tint on the movie, everything inside of the Matrix has a green tint to it, and there's no blue anywhere. If you go back and watch it, there's not an ounce of blue anywhere in the Matrix. Where on the flip side of that, in the real world, it has a blue tint to it, and the only thing that's green is the screen of the Matrix. And then when they're in the construct, it's actually like a yellow tinge to it. If you go back and watch it, yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, you notice the green a lot when they go back to the Matrix. When they
Right.
go
Yeah.
back in, then you're like, oh wow, you can really tell.
Yeah, obviously we went over some of the like classic literatures, like Follow the White Rabbit, Alice in Wonderland and stuff like that. There's actually a lot of philosophers were referenced in here. Hu Won-ping, the choreography for this, he actually didn't want to do the movie. When then the Wachowskis went to him and said they wanted him so badly, he threw a number at him. I've not been able to substantiate what that number was, what he got paid, but he threw a number at the Wachowskis that he said was so ridiculous when they said yes, he couldn't turn it down. And so he went on to do it. He said, my two conditions were I needed to get paid that salary, and all the fight scenes I would be completely in control of. And they said as long as it falls within the parameters of what we're trying to do in the movie, is perfectly fine. And then that dude became a fucking legend in Hollywood after that. I mean, he's done he did all the Matrix movie, he did Kill Bills, like he's the dude's been a fucking legend. So some really cool facts about the movie, man. This movie is iconic, I would say, like at this point. One of the most blatant things that I did see was the Wachowskis borrowed from another acclaimed science fiction novel. It's actually more of like a comic book. It's called The Neuromancer. It's written by William Gibson. It's kind of set in like a cyberpunk style. The main character is a lone computer hacker who learns how to enter a digital world and alter reality. In Neuromancer, the digital world is called the Matrix, and the people who want to break free from it live in a place called Zion. I swear to God,
Ooh, wow.
they just like full on blatantly ripped off this fucking Neuromancer novel, dude. So it's like, oh my God, holy shit, dude. Like,
Hopefully
it
they
was
got a
almost
check or
verbatim.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
almost
where's the
verbatim.
check? Wow.
Yeah.
Wachowski's cut the check.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm sure Mr. Gibson had a couple conversations. Yeah.
He
I hope
fucking
he got broke
I
off a
hope
little
he
bit.
did. He better have.
Shit. That's rough. There's one more thing I want to throw in here too. Chad Stahelski was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in this, and he worked with Keanu for a long time. Ended up directing Keanu Reeves in the John Wick movies later on, so they had a long
Nice.
relationship after this. Yeah, so I always thought that was
Nice.
cool. This is kind of where that got started, though, so that's pretty dope.
Awesome. All right, this being cheers to the end. Do put out a random cheers. Dennis, do you have a cheers to the Matrix in any way, shape, or form?
Oh, you know I do, man. You know where I'm going with this. Cypher.
Yeah,
I feel you, dog.
knew it. I fucking
I see
knew
you,
it.
buddy. I see you, dog. That steak was looking good too, and they cooked it pretty much how. Look, if you're trying to convince somebody to turn on people, that's how you do it. That's the type of steak you put in front of them. You cook that shit medium like that, man. You have some wine out there.
That shit
Man,
was
it
a
was-
bit
look-
rare as fuck. There wasn't medium about that, man.
Either way, it looked good to me when I was watching me, and I was kind of like, hey, I don't blame him at this point. And then the juxtaposition of that and watching him eat that slop, and the fact that he probably ain't getting down on that shit. He might, I don't know. He might get down to Zion at some point. I don't know how that worked out for for Cypher. And I don't know if Cypher ever got to go down there and get in the orgy or not, but it didn't sound like it. So I'm just saying, I understand. So blue pill. I'm a supporter of the blue pill.
All right, JJ, you got a random cheers for the Matrix?
I mean, I think Dennis will definitely know who I'll be. It's, the king or queen of all side characters, Switch. I believe that when she said "not like this," she meant, "Please don't let us side characters die in meaningless ways." And it is my favorite GIF, my favorite meme. I could use that nearly almost any situations. Switch will always remind us, "Please, not like this," and I will absolutely cheer to that.
I will cheers to Bullet Time. It revolutionized the way we saw film. It blew my fucking 15-year-old mind. It still kind of blows my mind to this day. This movie is iconic, and we appreciate everything that it has done for the industry. That's going to do it for us today. I hope you enjoyed our show and heard us rant about a 25-year-old movie. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I have been Tim.
Dennis?
JJ.
And cheers, you guys, to the end. Have a good night.
Peace.